Tonight here we have Pam Haig, myself, Amy Biden, Barry Vondolowski, Gage Spanknagel, he's our intern. We have Peter Matusko and Paul McCredsky as members. Tonight will be, I'm going to skip over the minutes because I didn't update you guys with the most recent minutes. I'll do that next time. And tonight we'll be talking to police, dispatch, fire, EMS, and Hadley Media. We're going to start with the police.
Thank you, Amy. So I just want to start really quick to introduce the staff that's with me today. As you know, I've been kind of playing double duty, so I've had to enlist the help of all of our staff members, and I wanted to just introduce you folks and tell you a little bit about what they do on a day-to-day basis. So next to me is Joanne Putnam. She is my executive assistant. She is basically the business manager for the police department. She keeps and she manages all of our paper and electronic files. She is the accountant for the police department. She runs all of our numbers. She does all of the union negotiation calculations as we work through things like that. She handles all of the invoices, all of the payments, all of the reimbursements, all of the turnovers. She is our accreditation and our grants manager. We are currently in the certification process, which is the step right before moving into accreditation. She is the manager of all of that, which in most police departments is a single person that is usually hired separately to handle accreditation. And she is also trained to write grants. We'll get into a little bit of that in Mitch's presentation. She has written, in the first year that she's worked here, she has written grants totaling in excess of what her salary is. And she is currently working on, I think, 2 or 3 other ones. Before we had our financial crisis, I was trying to work her into writing grants for some of these other departments. So DPW writes a lot of grants, but unfortunately we have to pay companies to write these grants for them because we just don't have people who are trained and certified to write grants in this town. Joe and Meg are probably the only 2 that I know outside of the superintendent who regularly write annual grants for the town. So Mitch is going to get into that in a little bit. I just mentioned Megan Cahill is our dispatch supervisor. She oversees the operation of our 911 call center from all facets, from start to finish. She routinely assists an on-duty staff. Several years ago when we negotiated a dispatch union contract, we negotiated a way so that our lieutenants as well as our dispatch supervisor could work could do union work to save on overtime. Meg covers the day shift quite a bit as a dispatcher. She maintains all quality assurance in all of our training programs. Our dispatchers are required to go through a certain amount of training and specific specialized training every single year. She ensures that that gets done. She coordinates the dispatch schedule to make sure that every single shift is filled as appropriate. She handles expenditures and assists in budget planning, as I was just talking about Joe. She basically handles the entire dispatch budget. And I already mentioned that she fills the role of dispatcher during shortages. My 2 lieutenants, both of these individuals are longtime officers within our department. Mitch came up with me, essentially. We used to work together on the midnight shift, and when I became chief, I promoted Mitch to sergeant. When I promoted Mitch to lieutenant a few years after that, I promoted Lieutenant Green to sergeant at the time. And with the law enforcement reform, with trying to become an accredited police department, and with all of the post certifications that were required, as the fire chief has explained in meetings past, the administrative load of our departments has just grown significantly. And it required another lieutenant to be on. And I think, Amy, you were still chair. Well, you've been chair for a while now. But I recall one of the town meetings when we actually promoted Jesse to town meeting, and you did the announcement for us. That was really cool. Both of my lieutenants, they also serve as shift supervisors. They do work the road. We are in a situation right now where we are short personnel, so they have to work the road a little bit more than I'd like them to. And ultimately what happens is one or the other of their duties suffers. Either their administrative tasks go undone, or they're ended up doing administrative tasks when they could be on patrol. They have been filling administrative roles since I've been in my dual duty role and basically acting as kind of interim chief of police when I'm out of the building. They manage the entire police schedule as well as all of the road jobs that you see out there up and down Route 9. There are approximately 7,000 different blocks of time that need to be filled annually across public safety, whether it be for details or patrols, and they ensure that somebody is scheduled for one of those blocks all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They both handle any internal disciplinary or high liability matters. Luckily, we don't have a lot of those. They oversee all public records, which we have a lot of those, and court discovery, which we also have a lot of those. That's essentially any time somebody is charged with a crime, is arrested, or ends up with a civil infraction which requires evidentiary proceedings, they deal with assistant district attorneys to make sure that they have all of the evidence that they need to present if it ends up going to trial. And again, just like me, they are on call, and like Meg, they are on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So it's a heavy load to carry, just like the fire chief as well. So those are the folks that are here with me tonight. Each one of them wants to play a role in this budget process. They love this town. None of them live in this community. Every one of them has worked for us with the exception of Joe, who just came on with us. Every one of them has worked with us for several years, some for many years. And they care deeply about not just the community, but also the department. So it was a battle to see who was going to do which part of the presentation. So I'll turn it over to Mitch first, and he can start. And again, I know that there seems like there's a lot of slides. He talks fast. We timed it. It's not as bad as you think.
All right, a quick overview. The Police and Communication Departments were presenting to you the fiscal year 2027 operating budget. Both are constructed within the level funded threshold as required. One of the main themes of this presentation will be the time and the cost to hire and train police officers and dispatchers, and the associated cost of having a vacancy. The cost of having a vacancy and or training a new officer have impacts far beyond the cost of paying police academy tuition. Not only are you paying salary, overtime, and equipment costs, but in most circumstances, the town also spent that same money on the officer who have left the department. This presentation will explain how we've combated overtime and spent taxpayer money more wisely. We're going to talk about staffing levels. We'll talk about police staffing that has been in the local news, cost of training, overtime budget. We're going to go back to the old days a little bit. We'll talk about dispatch, fines and fees that we as the police department collect, cost of retail theft here in the community, and we're going to talk about grants that our agencies apply and receive. So over the years, 1971 and prior, the police department did not have full-time police officers. Before the 1970s, the town used part-time officers, elected constables, as the primary law enforcement officers. We no longer use part-time officers as part of police reform in 2020. Post essentially eliminated the part-time training program for police officers. That was essentially who we hired. That program, we brought officers on and we trained them before we promoted them to full-time. We no longer have access to that program. So now, essentially when we bring officers on, we have to hire them off the street and train them start to finish. In 1970, we had 0 full-time officers. That changed. In the early 70s, we upped it to 1. And then through the 70s into the early 80s, staffing slowly increased. And in 1983 is when the police department started 24/7 police coverage. In the year 2000 is when the police department instituted 2-officer coverage 24/7. Back in 2000, there were 9 officers and sergeants plus the chief. In 2005, we added an 11th officer to supplement on the evening shift. And many may remember in 2009, we had the Badge Quest Management Study, where in 2009, part of that study, that management study, suggested that we add 3 full-time officers over the next 3 years. So essentially going from 11 to 14 full-time officers by 2012. Unfortunately, that was not implemented. In 2016, we did an internal study that showed that adding officers at straight time will save overtime. Can you imagine? Straight time saves overtime. So in 2018 and 2021, lieutenants were added to the police department, and in 2022 we added a 4th sergeant, bringing the department closer to 24/7 supervisory coverage. Staffing today, we still get questions. We still get questioned often, when can I come by the police station? Well, you can come by 24/7, 365. Someone is always there. Staffing levels for the PD has a minimum of 2 officers at all times for officer safety purposes. Ideally, with today's liability issues, we should be having a sergeant and 2 patrol officers at all times, but that is for a future finance committee meeting. In order to have 2 officer coverage, each shift must have 3 officers assigned. In order to have 2 officers, you have to have 3 officers assigned in order to have 24/7 coverage. The one downfall of that is that when officers take paid time off, anytime officers have paid time off, it goes to overtime. If you have minimum staffing and you go below 2 officers, you've got to refill it back. Dispatch has a 1 dispatcher minimum mandatory, but due to increased call volume over the years and the addition of EMD, there really should be 2 as often as possible. This is just a quick look at staffing, how it currently looks right now. Each shift has a sergeant and 3 patrol officers assigned. We also have the detective and the detective sergeant on the day shift. And right now we currently have a vacant split shift sergeant. And this is going to make a whole lot more sense here once we get a couple slides. This is what our schedule ideally looks like when we are at full staffing. Every shift, 7 days a week, 24/7, has 3 officers assigned. With this setup here, anytime an officer takes paid time off, that reduces the shift down to 2 officers. You're never going to end up paying overtime with this model here. Right now with our current model, with our frozen position, on this same 2-week schedule, there are a total of 6 shifts that run minimum staffing. Anytime you see 2 blocks, and if someone takes one of those shifts off, that means right then and there you're filling it with overtime. Going back in time to the staffing in the old days, this is how the schedule looked every single day. This is why overtime was constantly a problem. Because anytime someone took a day off, it was filled with overtime. There would be days and weeks where both officers on a shift would be on paid time off, backfilled with overtime every single shift. So, maintaining our staffing levels is very important to how our department operates. By having our staffing levels maintained, it obviously more officers that we have working increases officer safety and increases the safety of the community. It increases our department capacity. Our officers are able to do the jobs that they need to do and do them well. And it also allows for us not to rely on mutual aid, not having to call other police departments to come in and do our work for us. And by having that staffing and having increased officer safety and department capacity, it also increases the well-being and the morale of the staff. And by doing all those things, it reduces officer stress and it increases retention. And everyone knows why retention is important, right? Because the training costs that we're going to go over are significant. When we do all those things, we reduce overtime and we reduce hiring training costs. I put over here in parentheses overtime insurance. By increasing our staffing, it is essentially reducing overtime. You've got homeowners insurance, right? And you hope never to use it. It's the same thing with overtime. We increase the staffing in order to reduce the overtime. These are some articles, local articles, both Mass Live and Gazette, that talk about our staffing issues. We had this particular one that I took an excerpt out of from 2016, where Mark Lepacki brought up phasing in and expanding the staff plan that Chief Mason was looking to implement. Talking about the time and cost to train. Initial onboarding for a police officer is about 30 to 60 days to get them in the door and get them prepared for the police academy. 5 months in the police academy, 4 to 6 months in-house training before they can start working the road. So you're looking at approximately a year from the day that they start until they're fully trained and working the road. So the cost to train those officers, we just put 3 officers through the police academy. 3 officers. So each of these, you can see the math breaks out, and it's significant. Just the salary for those 3 officers to go to the police academy, you're looking at $172,000, a whole year's salary for them to get in the door and get trained. You've got to buy them ballistic vests. You've got to pay for their academy tuition. Just from the go to the police academy was just about $10,000. Their uniforms and equipment to onboard them, $10,000 apiece for uniforms and for their equipment for the police academy. Total estimated cost to train the 3 officers, over $200,000. Meanwhile, they're training in the academy, and while they're in the academy, someone else is working their 720 shifts. Their shifts back here still have to be covered. Some of them are filled with voluntary overtime. Some of them are filled with forced overtime. Nobody likes overtime, right? Overtime bad. Overtime equals bad. Well, overtime's even worse when you have to force people to work it. Not only is it cost ineffective, but it's also a negative impact on morale. Swaps. Lieutenant Green slaves over the schedule, day in and day out. Begs people to take shifts. And oftentimes we rely on swaps. We take people from shifts that are a little on the heavier side and put them on a lighter shift. Most often those shifts that run heavy expect that their partners are going to be there, their 3rd officer is going to be there, and they're not. So we're taking heavy shifts and we're filling in shifts other places. And as the chief was saying earlier, coverage by detectives and lieutenants. We're taking detectives and lieutenants from their roles and we're putting them on filling the patrol function. Overtime budgeting. FY26 budgeted $100,000 for overtime over the 26.2 payroll periods. $3,816 is what we expect to spend per payroll period. Now with 3 vacancies and several other scheduling issues, right now on average we're spending about $3,900 on overtime per payroll period. I was looking back at the schedule, October 2025, 63 open shifts over the course of the month alone. Fortunately, because of our staffing situation as it currently stands, only 21 of those shifts had to go to overtime. So if we went back to the old days and we looked at that schedule that we were looking at earlier that just had 2 officers working, if we only had 2 officers working, if we never added any staffing, we know that officers get standard amount of vacation time, holidays, personal time. Officers use comp time, a couple sick days. On average, that's about 350 hours of paid time off on an annual basis. Going back to when we had 9 officers, that would have equaled 3,150 hours of accrued leave. And back in those days, we would have had to fill every single one of those with overtime, and we did. Some of you were there, and you were in those special town meetings when we had to come back and ask for more money in the overtime budget. Right now, the average overtime rates, almost $55 an hour. We would be in the $170,000 range just for overtime alone, just to cover paid time off. That's only paid time off. Doesn't take into account officers on leave, short-term sick, vacancies, or officers injured. And we've had every single one of those while 3 officers were in the police academy. 2 officers had babies. Everyone knows we had an officer out sick. Right now, at the current overtime rate, when someone is out for a month, you're looking at about $8,600 just in the month to cover their overtime. When someone is on FMLA, if we were back in the old days with old staffing, you'd be spending about 25 grand just to have someone out for their 12 weeks. For a vacancy for a year, costs you over $100,000. And if we still operated at minimum staffing and we had all the staffing issues that we currently had, we'd be over $300,000 for overtime. And then throw in their paid time off, you'd be looking at $400,000 almost in just overtime alone.
So similarly to what Mitch was saying, and he showed the green schedules, when dispatch is fully staffed, more often than not, there's 2 for each shift. And so therefore, when somebody uses time, whether it's calling out sick or pre-planned PTO, we have another dispatcher, and so we don't have to post the shift. We decided, or it was decided, that we were going to eliminate a position of someone that had gone on leave and then wasn't able to come back. So now, instead of having the 2 all the way across the board, it's 2 and then 1 and then 2 and then 1. And so we are struggling currently with our overtime and part-time lines, because we fortunately can still have part-time employees. We're not held to the same standards as post. And most of our part-timers have worked for the town of Hadley for over 20 years. Actually, coming up this summer, Henry will reach his 50th year anniversary of working for the town of Hadley as a dispatcher. So needless to say, they make top step. So those shifts that were vacated by the position that we eliminated, we're still having to cover, because not all of them were a 2 dispatcher shift. Some of them were a 1 dispatcher shift. Where we are now is where we still have a few shifts that are double dispatchers, and shifts that where I'm working, I'm allowed contractually to fill the shift without posting it. I can't change my shift to do that. So if it was like a weekend day, I'm not allowed to do that union-wise. We have to post it first. But the current average dispatch hourly wage, including shift differential, is $28.23. The overtime wage is $42.36. So when a shift that would normally cost $226 to fill is instead filled with overtime at $339 a shift, the difference might seem small at first, but over months of vacancies and training times, those costs add up quickly. A dispatcher doesn't take quite as long as a police officer to train, to go through hiring, vetting, initial training, some state required training, and then the on-the-job training. It's about 6 to 8 months, so not quite as much, but still considerable. And our goal is the same as yours. We want to have responsible budgeting while still maintaining reliable services. But in a 24-hour emergency system, reducing staffing can create hidden costs through overtime, turnover, training, and maintaining adequate staffing is not only about protecting the emergency response, but it's also about avoiding expenses that could ultimately cost the town more. There is one other dispatch slide. Oh, Mitch added a third. So this is just the average of what it would cost.
Did I?
Yeah. I think you just kind of used yours and put the same math. No, don't apologize. But so instead of it being $100,000 to train an officer, it would be about $50,000 for the vacancy cost. And ironically, that's actually about what they make. So it's sort of a wash. One thing that we do to try to offset some of those costs is write annual grants. The State 911 is pretty, they're adamant about what the training is required, but they know that not all communities have the same budget. So I write grants, if you wanna, nope, okay.
Hold on.
Oh, I skipped ahead,
It's
might be.
Here it is.
right there.
You-
No, it's there.
just have it.
I had it. I just skipped past it, that's all. It's gone.
Okay, so one of the grants that I write is an EMD grant, and that covers the cost of required quality assistance. So we have to listen to a certain percentage of calls to make sure that they're following all the protocols and giving the correct medical advice. We also have a training grant that roughly 25 grand a year, and that covers both the vendor fees and all the wages for the required annual continuing ed. And then we have a support and incentive grant, which right now, it's based on your population and your 911 calls. That amount is, so it varies from municipality to municipality. But it helps to cover the cost of any equipment purchases, software, IT services, and some upstaffing. And we do get an additional 20 grand, not to that 56, the number would otherwise be 36, because we have a co-responder. And that's something that is really important, and it helps fund other things.
What is a co-responder?
So, sort of as a response to George Floyd and the police reform and whatnot, a lot of people wanted to see someone that's not just a police officer responding to mental health calls, someone that had some training with crisis intervention, and someone that might not be as intimidating, showing up in uniform in a position of authority. And so we have a trained licensed social worker who's been trained in response, and when we share her with East Hampton, it's paid for by a grant. And when she's on, she responds to any call that has any sort of mental health or crises or even like just anything heightened, because oftentimes talking to someone that has that kind of training dealing with crisis will de-escalate a call before it gets to a point where you might have to arrest someone or summons them.
How many times have you used this person?
Oh, many. I could get the numbers because we,
Just curious of how often that we're using the social worker to help. I guess you'd want to say de-escalate the situation.
That's exactly it.
Instead of escalating, you know.
we have a
threat or-
call code because we close all of our calls with a code like arrest, report written, blah, blah, blah. And we have a specific code called de-escalation. And so we can track how often that she's been successful in assisting that. And all the officers also are trained in crisis response as well. But with the clinician working with us, it does get us more money in grants.
2 to 4 shifts, 2 to 4 times a shift. That's what I could throw at you.
Amy,
Right
that
here
was
from memory.
that was the position that you and I had discussed, using the opioid money for at some point down the road. But right now, it's covered by a grant. What we'd like to do is use the opioid money and possibly bring somebody on full-time. There's not enough money in the opioid account to do it long-term, though.
How long is this grant? How long do we foresee this person being on a grant?
It runs it will be continuously written unless the governor cuts that part of the budget, which she
Okay.
is considering right now.
And how long have we had it? So is this, we're going on our second, third year?
4 or
Fourth and
5 years.
fifth.
4 years.
Yeah. But that is unfortunately one of the places that she has mentioned that she might be cutting, I think, $54 million from. So if that gets cut enough, we'll probably, there's a lot of communities around us that use the same Department of Mental Health. If the grant is written through the Department of Mental Health, and if we lose it, everybody's gonna lose it, I think.
All right, so getting into some fines and fees that our department collects. Police detail, cruiser and admin fees. For FY '24, we brought in $52,000 in our police detail and admin fees. Those are fees that we collect to do invoicing. And anytime you see a police cruiser sitting on Route 9, we're billing that contractor for that time for it being out there. FY '25, just shy of $100,000, and in FY '26 so far, just over $50,000 in police detail and admin fees. Civil citations, these are speeding tickets, stop sign violations. I don't have to read them out loud, but you can see. One thing I do want to point out is in FY '25, you can see there's a little bit of a spike in that. FY '25, we were pretty close to full staffing. So then we're about to start fourth quarter FY '26. We're pretty short staffed, so that number's down a little bit. Court fees and fines paid to the town of Hadley. I asked the court to pull all payments, and they gave me $10,000 since 2022.
Just to jump in there, those are fees, not fines. So every single case that goes from a criminal charge that the magistrate drops to a civil charge, they charge a $40 fee. So the town gets those. Those aren't actually fines. I don't know, we're unsure. We do have a court and local fines revenue line. But I know that the fire department probably contributes some to that because I know he writes fines as well occasionally, not much. But as we stand right now for fines, last year we had over $20,000 in revenue just in court fines. And so we have 8,800 as of December. So we're kind of still working on track with that. Linda does use it as a revenue projection line. It is part of money that comes into the town annually. It changes from magistrate to magistrate. Some of them will keep a criminal charge and push it through the court system, and others, when they dismiss charges, they'll require a fine paid to the town. So it really kind of fluctuates based upon who the magistrate is and how they want to handle certain charges. But there is another 20 or so thousand coming in from those criminal charges.
So you told me before, and I don't remember if it's fines or fees, that when you do that, half of it goes to the state and half of it comes, which is.
Your chapter 90.
Yeah, that's what Mitch was saying. The
That's the
speeding
fees.
tickets and
The
speeding
fees,
tickets and
half and
stop
half.
sign violations and all that. Yeah, the state steals half of it for doing nothing, and they give us the other half.
And that was our half that you showed, right? Or is that total?
I'm not 100% sure. I think that's pulled from our system, so I'm not. I think that's probably what we wrote.
Correct, that's what we wrote.
Do we get anything if a state police officer issues any?
No,
Zero. Even though it's-
not even if they write it in Hadley.
they take from us, but we can't get it from them. Is that how it works?
That's how it works.
We're at the home stretch with the PowerPoint. So, talk about theft from businesses. Anyone notice we have a few businesses on Route 9? Anyone? Just a few. So we went to a few businesses, some of our bigger national retailers, who wish to remain nameless. But we went through and we asked a few of our major ones to give us some numbers, what they're experiencing for theft. Now, the vendor number 1 here that I put in, this is a national retailer that they have no loss prevention in their store whatsoever. And their store staff are still tracking just under $25,000 in theft since February 1 of last year to January 31st of this year. Vendors 2 and 3, I got vendor 3 in the meantime, but vendor number 2 and vendor number 3, they both have had issues recruiting and retaining loss prevention people. And so even with those issues, vendor number 2 reported during that same time frame $20,000 in reportable theft, and vendor number 3 was just shy of $17,000. Now, also in addition to that, we recently had about 3 weeks ago, we had a bank fraud case at a local bank. $17,000 loss from a check fraud, from an identity fraud case. And then just last week, we had an individual report that they were scammed out of $15,000. We're in the process now with our detectives of getting that money back. They put the money into a Bitcoin ATM, so we're hoping that we can get that cash back for them. So what we're looking at here are just three of our bigger vendors. This doesn't even scratch the surface of what some of our other bigger vendors, such as our home improvement stores, are experiencing for losses as well. We are routinely seeing organized retail theft crews coming out of New York and Connecticut that are coming visiting our area.
So the reason that this is important is, and the reason why we're bringing something like this up at a finance committee meeting is, Amy, as you know, we worked together on the putting together the retail theft business meetings. For those of you who don't know, several years ago, we formed what was called the Retail Theft Task Force. The Hadley Police Department organized it because of the retail theft that we had in our community. And as we stand right now, we have almost every police department in our area, all the way to Holyoke, as a member of the task force, because everybody gets hit with significant retail theft. The sheet that you have in front of you is just focused solely on Hadley, and we just pulled numbers. We didn't want old numbers. These are all numbers from just this last calendar year that our detectives have investigated when it comes to larcenies from this community. This is just what we know about, as Mitch mentioned. Those three major retailers, there are tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands more in theft out there that we aren't even aware of, because either some of them don't have loss prevention, or their policies don't allow their loss prevention to do much when it comes to investigating these crimes. The reason that this is important is not just to show you the good work that our detectives do, but it's important because if the department gets cut as far as personnel goes, these investigators go away, meaning they will have to be put onto patrol because we won't have the staffing to do the patrol work that is necessary. So all of this is undone, meaning we don't investigate these crimes anymore. We don't have the personnel to do it. And the last thing I want to do, and again, this is all from 2025 or 2026. I asked my detectives to pull 5 cases that they had investigated recently, and I just want to read you one paragraph from each case. 2025 call, indecent assault and battery times 10, meaning there are 10 charges for indecent assault and battery. Indecent assault and battery on a person with intellectual disabilities times 10. Civil rights violation. The description of this case is: a walk-in report was completed with an initial interview of the individual who was accompanied by housemates. Initial interview revealed multiple sexual assaults occurred, and the reporter disclosed that they are diagnosed with autism. Contacted Northwestern District Attorney's Office and a forensic interview was scheduled. Followed a full disclosure, including a forensic interview. The suspect interview was conducted, and the suspect waived their rights and fully spoke with detectives. The suspect has been arraigned on charges and is pending indictment. They'll be indicted on multiple felony charges. 2025, breaking and entering in the nighttime for a felony, malicious destruction of property over 1,200, larceny from a building, possession of burglarious tools, and a common and notorious thief. The charge of common and notorious thief, by the way, carries a mandatory 20-year sentence. Burglar alarm for 73 Russell Street, Big Y Express. Patrol arrival, front glass was shattered, on-call detective contacted. Detective arrived, began investigating, able to identify the vehicle used from a flock camera hit, and determined a white male as the suspect. Flock revealed that the pickup truck is frequenting Western Mass. Networked with other agencies about overnight breaking and enterings of the same vehicle. Contacted Holyoke Detective Bureau due to a recent arrest of the registered owner, and Holyoke provided the ID of the male. With the corroboration of 5 local departments, the truck was stopped and seized, and an arrest and search warrant was executed at the address in Holyoke. Suspect is being indicted through the Attorney General's office. That's a federal charge. From 2025 again, possession of child pornography, possession of a Class B drug. Our detective, by the way, our primary detective is certified in cyber crimes when it comes to child pornography. Cyber tip received related to child sexual assault material. Cyber tip was confirmed to be valid and a search warrant was written and granted for the Google account. Material was confirmed based on the cyber tip and additional material was identified. Second search warrant written and granted for the search of the house where the subject was arrested, devices were seized, and cocaine was located. A third search warrant was written and granted for the devices seized. No findings of additional material as yet. Case is currently in court. 2025 case towards the end of the year, larceny over 1,200, single scheme, organized retail crime, failed to stop for police, negligent operation of motor vehicle, marked lanes violation, speed 85 in a 40, and shoplifting. After multiple reports of organized retail theft spanning months and multiple retail locations, including Target and Dick's Sporting Goods, but most notably Ulta Beauty, officers were involved in a high-speed pursuit through Russell Street into Northampton. In a months-long investigation, it was discovered that the ringleader of this group would involve both experienced thieves as well as new members without criminal records. The identities of each suspect were discovered, and the ringleaders were charged with various felony offenses, with more charges pending. This group has been responsible for even more larceny offenses throughout the Pioneer Valley in Connecticut. And just one more from 2026, just a couple of weeks ago. Larceny over 1,200, 2 diamond rings. Report of 2 wedding bands that were stolen from Ulta Beauty. Victim took them off to apply lotion and left them on the lotion display. Video footage showed an unknown middle-aged white female in a red coat and black backpack noticed the rings, grabbed them, and quickly left the store. Case was sent to the Detective Bureau. Detective contacted Mountain Farms Mall for footage and received footage from the parking lot. Detective identified the involved vehicle and was able to conduct a flock search with the positive result. Registry photo appeared slightly off, but confirmed ID through social media investigation after significant weight loss. Numerous attempts to contact the suspect without luck until the suspect was contacted and willingly brought the rings back. Returned the rings to the owner. Owner did not wish to file charges, but was happy to have the rings returned. I present that to you again, not because I'm super proud of what the detectives do in this community, but I'm afraid for what they won't be able to do. These aren't anecdotal stories. These things happen constantly, and we're going to show you just a little bit about what the officers do on a daily basis in this community.
One more slide before we get to that part. Just before I get into it, I just want to credit Joe Putnam. Joe has been here with us since October of 24, so not even quite a year and a half. And amongst all the other things that Chief Mason mentioned that she does, grants has been one of the things that she picked up and she ran with. And so in just that year and 5 months, she got us 3 separate grants. And the first one is the Child Passenger Safety Education Assistance Program grant, which gives us money to purchase child safety seats for community members in need. Second one was a Burn Justice Assistant grant through the U.S. Department of Justice. And we were awarded $29,000, just shy of $29,500, and we used that money to update 3 of our older cruiser camera systems. And then the last one, the Governor's Highway Traffic Safety Grant. This is a grant that we get annually to help with traffic enforcement. She applied for and got this grant for $19,440. Which is going to allow us to do additional traffic enforcement here in the community. So a credit to Joe in just that short period of time in $53,000 in grant money in just a very, very short period of time. So
I have a question on the grants. Were these grants that you had gotten before, or these first-time grants?
So each of these are all reoccurring grants, but that by no means,
They're all competitive grants, though.
they're competitive grants, but by no means are they easy to get.
Sure.
The paperwork for them it is absolutely out of control, very difficult to navigate, and you've got to go to special classes to do them and everything, so.
Well, that's what I was wondering, if you could do these here. I mean, is that something that you know how to do for other departments?
As I mentioned earlier, I really wanted to farm her out a little bit.
I did take a class that was specialized in police granting.
Oh, you specialize, okay.
It was so that I could focus mainly on our department, but it's something that I could certainly grow my skill set and I'm interested in doing, and we've had great luck so far, so I'm doing something right.
Thank you.
All right,
I think I got it queued up, you just gotta push play.
okay.
Okay, what's going on?
That's what yo, why I just heard that? Like, why some man just stole my car? Miss, I'm about to crash out. Like, I swear, I just came and grabbed the order and the car is gone.
Okay,
So much
what
stuff.
kind of car? What kind of car?
It's a Accord burgundy. That's Ram McDonald's. Oh my gosh.
Okay,
Yes.
the phone is cutting out. It's a burgundy what?
2008 Honda Accord.
Okay, hold on.
I'm about to cry, miss.
I think I might have the vehicle. Okay. So we're going to get on the highway. Can you contact Matt State, please?
MSP, we just had a vehicle stolen out of our McDonald's. I have officers behind it attempting to stop it on 91.
We are Interstate 91 southbound, mile 4.4.
Interstate
Over 100 miles an hour.
91 southbound, mile marker 21, going 100 miles per hour. They're requesting assistance.
Dispatch is fleeing. Vehicle heading westbound, white Chevy, rental car, speeds 75. It is a Hispanic male operator with a unshaven face, small amount of facial hair. Don't remember the clothing. 440, bang to U-turn. Old Bay. Left on the Bay Road, probably back towards 9. Clear right. Back 9 westbound, approach to the bridge. Dispatch, advise MSP, I'm gonna discontinue. Yep, I'm discontinued, I'm terminating. I'll advise if he gets on the highway in just a second. 91 southbound, white Chevy SUV, Connecticut tags, Bravo uniform 41210, single male operator.
Some fire get away into one of the room.
The fire?
Yeah.
What kind of fire? What's burning?
What burn up there? You have to come now, bro. Come now. The whole house burning.
What's your name? Okay, get out of the house. I'll send the fire trucks. What's burning?
Yeah.
Is the structure burning or what? What's burning?
It's the room. Look like the mattress in the room or something. But
All right, we'll send them out.
Fire alarm to well heavy monitors. Box alarm. Respond. Number 1. Be a single-family residence. Occupant reports some type of fire inside the structure. Unknown what's burning.
Yeah, dispatch, we got heavy smoke, heavy gray and black smoke coming out from the roof. This is looking like it might be fully involved.
Received. Fire alarm, all heavy monitors. Box alarm will be enacting the second alarm for mutual aids. Respond one single family residence. Confirmed structural fire. Heavy black and gray smoke. PD at scene. And when you're responding to, we do have Amherst Fire started en route with an engine to scene.
Yeah, dispatch, this fire is just getting worse and worse at this point. Everybody's out of the house. We're unsure on that pet.
Show me your hands. Show me your hands. Put your hands up. Don't move. Dispatch, I got one at gunpoint. Stand by. Stand by. You're not being arrested yet. I'm trying to find out what's going on. Keep your hands up. Don't move. One second.
On the ground. On the ground. On the ground. On the ground. I'll explain to you why in a second. Zip it. Sir?
I don't know if your radio's working.
You have the right to me. Anything to take on it. Want to be prosecuted by the court in the right?
Go ahead, sir.
Watch your head, okay? Put the belt on you, okay?
Good evening. My name's Officer Laughlin. I'm with the Hadley Police Department. Just so you're aware, we're all being audio and video recorded right now, okay? Can I see your driver's license registration, please? Because of the temp tag.
Oh, yeah, it's that is the temporary registration. I just got that.
Okay. Where'd you buy it from?
Huh?
I said, where'd you buy it from? What? Okay, where? Okay. All right, because like I said, I'm having a hard time finding you right now. Have you ever been in trouble before?
No.
Never gone to court?
Well, yeah, when I was like 18, 19.
18, 19? Okay, what state was that in?
That was in Connecticut.
Connecticut? Okay. All right, actually, put your hands behind your back. Yeah. Hold on, don't move. Don't move. There's a warrant for your arrest. Van Christian. Nice try. What is this? Burger Ben? That's not Kara. Oh boy.
So this is, I'm assuming fentanyl because he put his nose right to where that was and skipped it. So that's not heroin, meth, or cocaine.
Okay.
Because that's a lot.
Yeah.
He finds a lot smaller things than that.
You want to do me a favor? Step out.
Why?
You're suspended.
What do you mean?
Step out of the car.
All right.
Step. Station, he's fleeing! He's fleeing! Car. Eastbound towards Amherst. Blue Prius. I have the operator information. He's suspended.
I'm advising the EMAS now, advise Amherst flow.
Received. I think we're still, yeah, Amherst is still behind it. Station, I got stayed out with me entering Belchertown, speeds 10 miles an hour. He might bail. He might bail. We came to a stop at the Belchertown. Hey, put your f***ing hands up right now! Put your f***ing hands up! Get away from me! Troop, watch crossfire. Back up. Drop to your knees. Drop. You got it. You got it. All right. All right. Yeah, I'm put your hands behind your back right now. All right. Hey, draw down.
Just so you know, the officer with the arm tattoo that was reading to the kids was the one that was giving the speech at graduation. You probably couldn't, she wasn't in uniform. But even I saw the picture and went, what is that a picture of? How does that have to do with public safety?
I was happy to say
they
my
asked her
daughter
to-
introduced her.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. It was great.
They asked her to give the commencement address.
Yeah,
that day,
it was really
so.
nice.
So thank you for your attention to all of that. You know, I think everybody knows the numbers. There's really only 3 things to discuss. Again, you know, we show you these things not just to you know, we recognize that it's not New York City, but it ain't Mayberry either. So we think that this is what we need to keep the community safe. And I'll be sitting here, I'm sitting here right now, obviously, as the chief of police, and I'll be sitting here pretty soon as the temporary TA to support the fire chief when he does his presentation. Again, there's only 3 numbers to discuss as far as significant reductions, and we can answer any questions. We lost a police officer, as you know, the guy who was with the Bunny Rabbit. That was Officer Robitaille. He passed away, and when he passed away, it vacated that position, and the FY27 budget was written without that position included. Unfortunately, that required an increase in the overtime line, which you heard plenty about during the presentation. In order to be able to staff appropriately and adequately, with that cut, it puts one of our shifts at minimum staffing, which means any time off that anybody takes, we have to backfill it. The other cut is, you're gonna hear a little bit from the fire chief in a minute. Just like with every other department, admins were reduced. His admin was reduced, as well as our admin was reduced, along with pretty much everybody else's in town. What one of the suggestions was, and you know, Mike and I both feel the same as everyone else who has come before you, that there are certain skill sets and certain things required in what the training of these people has. Amy, you mentioned it for Joe as far as the budgetary, the grant training, and we, you know, hope to be able to expand that across town, and the fire chief is going to explain to you in a minute. I don't want to steal your thunder, Mike, but his admin has 20+ years of experience in handling things specific to the fire services. So these are skilled positions. They are not secretaries, and they are not receptionists. So as far as the police department goes, our cuts put us under what the level service request was. And if an override is requested, we would hope to try to garner that police position back and somehow figure out a way to properly staff for admins. As far as the dispatch budget goes, we lost a dispatch position, which, as Meg explained earlier, puts us in a situation where one of our shifts on the dispatch line is also at minimum staffing, and so we do get hit with overtime on that line. I think for FY27, it would make sense to not fill that position right away, as we are still looking into regionalization efforts and things like that. Meg wrote a grant recently to look into regionalization as far as dispatch goes, and we've convinced 5 or 6 other communities to kind of join us and see what that looks like. We're not in a position yet to make any moves. There's only been one department that was included with us that has been forced to kind of make a move, and Peter was talking about South Hadley earlier. South Hadley, they're looking for $11 million override or something along those lines, and so the South Hadley chief of police has had to essentially eliminate their dispatch. They're the only ones that have made any moves towards regionalization, just because they can't afford to staff their dispatch center right now.
Where did they go to?
She hasn't moved yet, but right now they are discussing with Westfield. Westfield? Westfield.
It's Westfield.
Yeah.
Quite a few years back, I was dispatcher for a while, and Shutesbury came under our wing, and I do not think it worked very well at all.
Yeah.
Just for a note,
Yeah.
that someone would call up and say, there's a vehicle accident on such and such road, can you give me an address? Well, it's next to, down the hill from Joe Schmo's house.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I have no idea who that is, I'm answering the call in Hadley. What in the world are you answering in Hadley for?
Yeah.
And it was just a lot of communication difficulties.
There are pros and cons depending upon what you do, and the fire chief and I can. What our plan is that as we learn more about regionalization and how it might look, we would like to kind of put together a presentation to see. I'm concerned that some of the communities are backing out currently because they don't want to go to another community, like Shutesbury went to another community. There's some negatives to that. The only positives really is the first couple of years are savings. After that, you end up having to pay for it again, and now your dispatch is in Westfield. So we need a little bit more time to research it, and we're also waiting for the state. The grant that we wrote was actually for one of the top ranked grant companies, and we weren't allowed to actually use that company because the state was using it to do their own grant study. So we are waiting for that report to come out, and what that report is supposed to be is they were supposed to have been doing an analysis of the entire state for regionalization as far as dispatch communications go. And I'd like to know what that says. But again, there's pros and cons to each. I think that because of the fact that we don't know enough yet, I don't know that now is the right time to add back the position in dispatch when we are so short in other areas and we could use that funding in other areas. If it means, some other department gaining a half a position back, or if it means a firefighter or something along those lines, departments that are much more short than us, I think we can handle it. But as far as the police position goes, Linda made a great point at one of our buy board meetings. Ultimately, we cut a $65,000 position, and we had to add 30 grand to the overtime line. So we netted $30,000. It's like, a lot of this just doesn't make sense. We're chasing our tails, and the more we do it, the more we're gonna spin. We wrote a budget that when we came in to present it to Linda, our overtime line was set, with full staffing, was set at $75,000 a year. When I took over as chief of police 11 years ago, the overtime was $104,000. We spent about $200,000 because every day we were at minimum staffing. But I think it's kind of a testament to the way that these individuals run the department and the policies that we have put in place, and the fact that we have been granted by the finance committee and by the select board the staffing that we need to be able to keep the overtime low. 11 years later, salaries have risen, more officers are here, and our overtime is $25,000 less than when it was when I took over. So it's really a policy matter, and it's the price of doing business, essentially. And when the fire chief comes up here to talk about his staffing levels, he's going to be using the same protocols. He's going to be using the same argument, which is essentially, if you have enough staff, you don't have that question mark in your overtime line. Maybe it will be high for your liking, but it won't be fluctuating. When I was at, and I'll tell you a funny story, when I was at town meeting, when I was hired as the chief of police, before I had even taken over the budget, I was told by a member of the select board, as well as somebody who was previously on the select board, you better fix that overtime problem or you're not going to be around for very long. Point blank, quote unquote. And within, I think, a week, the Gazette had written an article that I had, if anybody wants to come visit me in my office, I always have candy. I have a Gazette article that is brown, basically, because it's 15 years old, that was written right after that town meeting, and it was a picture of a Hadley Cruiser, and the title of the article was Hadley's Overtime Trap. And I mention that because, again, our overtime budget was about $104,000 a year, and we were spending upwards of $180,000 to $200,000. That is no longer a problem. If we cut people, we will be causing that problem again. And once that happens, if we realize we've made a mistake, it takes a year to bring one person in to fix that problem. So,
And training.
right.
And maybe the academy.
Yeah, so that, I mean, and you know, and where we are right now financially, we're not gonna be stealing anybody from another department. They're not gonna say, whoa, Hadley's awesome. Sounds like they're in great shape right now, I'll come work for them. I shudder that if the fire chief, if we can get an override and hire some firefighters back, I shudder to think of what we're gonna get for applicants, because I don't know. I'm nervous because I don't know if we'll be able to fill the jobs with the position that we're in right now. So that's essentially it. My request, really, just like the rest of the departments, would be to restore the police position, cut the overtime budget back down to where it was, and either restore the funding for the 1/3 of the admin, but that would require the fire department and the police department to kind of the budget. We would have to figure out a way. What does that look like? Because if we're not sharing an admin, as was what we were told, the select board wanted. The select board, when we had these discussions, the amount was cut, and this was the only possible solution that we could think of, that we could still have admins to assist. It's not remotely ideal. And he'll go into, what Heidi means to him. She's incredible. She's like 20 years, 25 years, 30 years of fire services. And as you know, without a deputy chief, she's been, I'm sorry, I'm not talking like the police chief anymore. And I'm stealing all Mike's thunder, but we have to, so my request as far as the police department goes would be to figure out a way to restore the funding for both of those positions. And it's not anything that you haven't heard already. You've heard it from every other department head that has come in here and had their admins cut. So we're in the same boat.
So, question.
No, you go ahead, I might be a while.
All three of us.
Go ahead.
The firefighter, sorry. The police officer, what is their salary? Is that the 120?
No.
No.
That's
No.
like, that looked too high to me.
Yeah, no, we were talking, we lost
65?
65, yeah,
That's
65.
with benefits? Is that with or without benefits?
Without.
Yeah, and then the 1/3 of the
For the admin?
admin.
I think it was.
Is it 20?
Yeah, it's 18,
18.
330.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so it's 18. And again, obviously we'd love, and I'm sure Mike would agree, because dispatch serves both fire and police, that ideally we would love to have that dispatcher back. If you were considering some type of a public safety override to include police, fire, dispatch, ideally we'd like to see that position back, but we also recognize that you can't have everything. As Meg mentioned earlier, our goal is the same as yours, and if we can suck it up and deal with it, we want to work with the town.
Mike, if you were to get that position back, in your estimate, what do you think would happen with that overtime number that you have in the budget here of $110,000?
We would be able to reduce it back down to 75.
Okay.
Yeah. That is an estimate of what we would need as an added increase to it. Matter of fact, it's lower. It's lower than what I think the lieutenants probably are seeing this right now and are a little bit upset with me, because I believe the original number was 125 is what we were predicting.
So that salary figure minus the 35 would come out to about, net, was that 25,000? Am I doing that right?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Oh, not including the benefits. The benefits
Correct.
would have to go into a separate line.
Right. And well, while you're on that too, in this analysis, you're talking about how the overtime could go down, but if you had more people, but yes, you're right about the benefits, so what roughly would that be? It's like 40%?
It's 40%, so if you hired somebody at 60 to 65, you're talking about
24,
yeah,
25.
24. I mean, if you wanted to go 30, you could say something like that. So you're talking about 80,000 total.
Okay.
You ready?
Ready.
How many patrol officers you got?
18 total, including the chief.
You want to know
So,
patrol
like patrol,
specifically?
sergeant, LT, detectives, and chief. Like
That's
what,
everybody.
like everybody. Like what do you have?
We
So you got 18.
total positions, 17, but only 17 exist. We have one vacancy, cut, whatever you want to call it.
Okay. So then after, they're all hourly. They're not salaried. The only one that's salaried is you.
Correct.
Okay.
These guys are salaried as well, but they're on the pay chart, whatever you want to call it.
Okay. And then after, just a question. Joanne, are you union or non-union?
Non-union.
Okay, non-union. All right. So when I'm seeing this, where it comes to, because the 3 officers that I know you put and asked for them to go into training, it was the 1 year salary at $57K with the 3 officers. That would be what you would like to have is those 3 officers added, which is 172, and like you said, with the 40% for the retirement, that's about 241,000. So that's what I'm looking at. Now, when you were talking about the old schedule was 2 officers, and then you've added it to 3. Was that just to lower the overtime that you added from 2 to 3? Was that safety-wise? Because did you have 3 that are always on the road, or 2 are on the road and you had an LT or a sergeant in the office?
We never. Well, when I was a patrol officer, we only had 2 sergeants in the entire department. I never worked with a supervisor. I was my own supervisor. So what we did was, over the course of 10 years, we added enough police officers to get to 3 people per shift, and created additional sergeant positions to try to have supervision on every shift. It took us 10 years to get to this point. So when I first started, the first thing I did was presented that slide that you saw with that schedule, and I showed how much overtime it was costing us to backfill those positions. The select board gave us 3 police officers, but it didn't cost anything because at that time we had a bunch of part-time officers and we had a huge budget for those individuals. So what we did was we just took that money from the part-time line, moved it to the full-time line. Over the course of the next 8 years, we added, I think, 3 more people, and that put us to where we are right now. Those 3 training officers, I just want to make sure that we're clear, they already exist. We're not asking for that. I don't know if maybe you're confused about that.
No, that was from last year. You said
Correct.
that they were in training.
Yes.
They were already at the police academy.
They are almost on the road. They're almost finally working, and it's taken almost a year to get to that point.
Okay. You're trying to save $25,000 in overtime where you're having an officer that's vacant for their $60,000 salary, so you're spending $84,000 to save $25,000, right? Because you're trying to fill in that one position for that officer, because the overtime is, what'd you say it was, 100 or 75,000 for the overtime? So for having another employee, that's going to be 60,000 with 40% for the benefits. That right there is 84,000. So $84,000 to have with benefits to having $75,000 in overtime. So you're spending money to lose money.
No, so
as I see it.
I understand what you're saying, but to answer your first question, it's not just about overtime. As Mitch mentioned in one of the slides, if you have enough police officers on duty, you save in overtime. They work safer. You see what kind of stuff they're dealing with out there. Having one other person 6 minutes away when you're dealing with a call like somebody with a gun in Howard Johnson's, is a little too far away to have somebody, okay? So having 3 people on puts you in a better position to be able to handle those calls safely. And the other thing is, without that officer, that shift is short, 365 days a year, which means anytime someone takes time off, someone's getting forced to overtime. So it's not just about cost, it's also about morale, and it's about making sure that people are safe. If you're getting forced in all the time, you can ask the fire chief this, his poor guy, like the guy that stood up, Dave, he doesn't want to take overtime, and he was forced to like 4 shifts that week or something like that. You can't do that to people and expect them to last. So it's not just about money. Money is part of the issue, but it's also about safety, it's about morale, and it's about running the department properly.
And not to mention on top of that too, is that when we have a vacancy, when we talked about this, we talked about it taking a year to fulfill that, to refill that vacancy. If in the meantime, someone else decides, I'm out of here, I'm going somewhere else, I'm leaving policing. We had that all happen. That's why we have these 3 vacancies. We had someone leave to go to state police. We had someone leave to go to another department, and we had someone leave to leave law enforcement. And so by having this shortage right now and having a year to refill it, if we lose someone else in the meantime, we're that much further behind in filling not only the vacancy that's likely pending, but also the one that's already frozen.
Okay. When we're talking about the losses of theft throughout the 3 stores, we're not going to say whoever they are, but you can almost guess who they are. Do those stores, I'm guessing if they're bigger stores, do they have their own security?
Some do, and some don't. Some have local, some have regional.
Okay. So knowing that we have to have, outside of having detectives for car theft, other things other than the regular
Retail
theft, and we were talking about billion-dollar stores, that those stores are using our resources that the taxpayers are paying for, that I would hope they would be able to support their own security for their own losses. We're spending $100,000 for detectives, and we're, to them, they're crying that they're broke, or saying that they're broke because they got a $20,000 loss with a, potentially $1 billion company. That, to maybe talk to them saying, we're a small town, we can only have so many people, that, that adding more people, then you're going to say we need more detectives because these box stores are losing $100,000 for their billions of dollars, that, people don't want to have a split tax or talk about a tax because they'll get abatements and, all of these things, and they're crying poor, but they're using our resources. Knowing that if it's a Connecticut or a New York syndicate, have you thought about getting the FBI involved? That, we can't handle those type of things, that dish it off to somebody else that has those, financial resources. Just as, something like that.
To answer the last question first, the FBI does not deal in local retail theft.
Okay.
That's one thing. The second part is back to the beginning, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree that a lot of our businesses should be doing more to combat retail theft. My concern several years ago when we started really attacking retail theft was that we were all going to have to ask for somebody to unlock the deodorant for us in Walmart, or they were going to close. And forget about if they're not paying enough money. If they're non-existent, that's a problem for this community. I mean, I don't know if anybody disagrees with me, but if businesses can't sustain themselves, I'm not going to name any names, but there are several businesses in town that I know for a fact are kept on their roster, so to speak, for insurance purposes. They don't make money. So if they close, you lose everything that might be coming in from them. So I don't disagree with you at all. The problem is this. when it comes to the criminal justice system, even the companies that do handle their retail theft appropriately, they don't have the legal pipeline to actually handle that charge. Meaning, they can't go and prosecute a case. They don't testify. They don't investigate those crimes. They certainly won't investigate an organized theft ring. So there naturally must be an intermediary, and that is the police. And so I completely agree with you, Peter. Like, I wish they would do more. It's part of the reason that Amy helped us pull together these meetings, because I wanted to talk to them directly and say, what are we doing about this? What can we do better? What is it that you need from us to try to do better before these things happen, and before you lose so much that, you know, that bad things occur. So, like I said, the natural intermediary is the police department. So you're right, but there is no way around it. There's nothing we can do about it. And the only other thing that I can say is that I've heard it batted around. I don't know what it looks like, but I've heard it batted around that perhaps the town could create some kind of a business area public safety fund or something like that. What was it called, Mike, that somebody mentioned to us a while back?
We're looking at a public safety tax.
Public safety tax or something along those lines that you could...
Didn't know if it's legal.
We don't know, yeah, I mean, we haven't gone down that road yet, and it's certainly not for this discussion, but I do agree, and I think Mike agrees as well, that the tax, non-monetary tax, the tax on services from the businesses in this community could be increased to try to cover some of the costs associated, so the taxpayer doesn't have to inherit that burden. But where we are now, I don't know that that's a conversation for this time.
Because everybody loves Route 9, what it does, commercial based, the revenue that we're getting. But how much of Route 9, whether if it's fire or police, are we using our services to accommodate, well, to what they've earned for it because they're part of the community, to and benefit to helping us as the town. Thank you for that. And then after, just want to say, and this would be a tough one, that in past 5 years, your budget has doubled from almost $1 million to almost $2 million. So that's where you have 18 people in your department. Yes, it's all about safety. It's about for the community and safety and morale. Everybody likes it. Everybody wants it. But still, in 5 years, that's $1 million. That's a lot of money. So to be asking, to saying that you want another person to be saving for overtime, yes, for morale, like you were saying, Mitch, but there are a lot of other departments that are hurting a lot more, that you're spending $84,000 to saving $25,000 in overtime. To me, yes, there is that wash or that balance of safety, security, sanity. As to money-wise, that could somebody potentially leave? Yes, that's why I was asking that. Is, who is there for, in the private sector, if someone gets sick or gets hurt, other people step up. Whether if it's the supervisor or the very person that's in charge, they step up to fill in that position. That's why I was asking who is hourly and who is salary, that if there is a sick time, a vacation time, that are those people that are salaried to stepping up to help to avoiding with those overtime, because okay, your salary, you're 8 to 5, so you might leave and work 6 hours today because nothing's going on. But so you have to work 10 hours. That's a balance. That's your responsibility of being salary.
And we take that responsibility very seriously. And the reason that the overtime has stayed close within the budget is because Lieutenant Green and I have flexed our schedule to cover those shifts.
Okay.
And our detectives have been moved off of their regular detective schedules to a patrol schedule.
Good.
So we've moved those things in the short term to be able to be able to meet those needs. It's the only reason that the overtime budget is anywhere close to where.
But that's a temporary solution. We can't have a permanent problem and solve it that way. You need these people doing this administrative work. We have had just an unbelievable amount of administrative load dumped on us, just like every other department in town. Unfunded mandates, post requirements, all of these things that require being done. So you can't have your lieutenants working a midnight shift permanently. That can't happen. That can't be a permanent solution. They can do it temporarily, and they've been doing it for the last 10 months. But if we can resolve this and turn it from a temporary problem into no problem at all, that's all we're asking. So, Peter, I certainly understand, as both the chief of police and helping out in the TA, that everybody is in need right now. But I'm advocating right now for the police and dispatch departments.
Oh, I know.
And I'm telling you, this is what I think we need.
And I just want to go back to one thing that you said, Peter, was that the police budget has expanded by double in 10 years, right?
5 years. I think it was 5 or 6 years.
Sure.
Right at COVID, then everything just went up for everything. Salaries, people, expenses.
Right. So part of that too is you remember from the presentation that in 2009 they did a study where in 2009 they said over the next 3 years you should be increasing your staffing by a person a year for the next 3 years. That wasn't done. They didn't increase anything. One of the links that I put up there talking about finance, talking about implementing the chief's plan. In that very same article, in that very same meeting, an override was discussed. So we're talking about things, yes, it looks like it's grown over the years, but the department didn't grow over the years with how the town grew.
Can I just also add that we were right around COVID, the police department was at a point where we were losing officers because we were like the lowest paid police department, like in similar size and
we were a farm team.
population. And so they negotiated and raised the salary so that it would be in the middle, not at the top, in the middle. And I think that's where a lot of the increase comes from, because it was negotiated wage increases to not lose people to leave to go to other departments because they made a lot more money there.
You may look at it as an increase, but you're wasting less money. You're throwing less money out the door, training people.
It costs twice as much to train somebody than it does to keep somebody employed. So the more people you can keep and retain, and I think, Harry, you brought this up at one of the by-board meetings, you want to be a town that can retain people because it costs you less in every department. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what job people are doing. It costs less to keep them here, retain good people, than it does to have them wander on somewhere else, to some other town, some other municipality, some other police department, fire department, whatever, and then have to replace them. So that's one of the things, and Meg's right, I didn't put 2 and 2 together, but that was one of the years that they negotiated increases to bring them up to a reasonable level. We were one of the lowest paid departments in the state.
You also put your cruiser in your budget, so that brought it up.
That's true, and that's gone now too.
So when you're lowest paid in the state, basically, you're just a training station.
Yeah,
That's
what he said, that's a farm team.
We're a farm team.
They get the experience, and then they go somewhere, make 20,000 more, 10,000 more, whatever.
And then you gotta go find somebody new, start the process all over again, and 1 year later, you hired somebody and you hope that they stay.
Like you're saying with the bigger stores too, people are gonna leave. I'm sorry, I don't believe those bigger stores are gonna leave, because if you look at the stores that are in Springfield and in Chicopee, those that are in Memorial Drive, Riverdale Road, and Boston Road, yes, is it an inconvenience to go about having deodorant locked up? But they're still there. And you go and you buy something, someone could see you with the self-checkout and they're asking you, can I see your receipt for what you bought? So, yeah, it's an inconvenience, because I've had to do work in all of those bigger stores. And yes, it's like, wow, and there's a line 5-6 people deep. So they're still gonna do it. So I don't believe a store that are in locally, it's more of an inconvenience for them to have to put up gates, put up shields, plastic things, or whatever it is for the inconvenience. And I don't believe that they're gonna leave, because that's the reason why they're here, is on Route 9 for UMass, Northampton, Amherst, that yes, there might be some losses, but I don't believe they're gonna leave because of this little bit compared to other stores that
You
I've
might be
seen that
right.
have much bigger problems.
You very well might be correct, but I guess I would ask you, what's the alternative? Just let people steal?
No, absolutely not. Gatewood,
So we're in agreement then.
invest in your property and what you see. Yes, they
Right,
see
but if
the.
they're not gonna do that, what's the alternative?
Is that our problem, that if they don't want to protect their own investment?
It's our job.
Okay, it's your job, but to a point, if they don't invest in their own business or property, that's like, leaving money out somewhere and say, oh, someone take it. That's not my responsibility. I mean, they got to be accountable for why are they in business?
Again, we don't disagree.
Right, but
what is the alternative? We
We
can't just let.
We can't control how
No,
they run their business.
you're right. You can't control it. And then after, if someone would be a citizen to say, hey, I know you stole it, I'd be arrested for assaulting him for stealing Home Depot's money. Tools, right? To try to being a good citizen, right? I'm trying to do by right. I'd be arrested for assaulting somebody that's stealing something from Home Depot.
No, we just had it happen recently where a passerby saw that someone had no license plates on their car. They were going in their mask. They called us. They got involved.
Yep.
We caught the guy.
Which is great, but I'm just saying to the point of, the holding those stores accountable more if they want to have the low taxes that they have, not complain about or have worry about abatements that their taxes are so high to
Can we
avoid.
get back on the subject?
But
I really think talking about abatements and.
No, but I'm just saying, but it all has to work together of knowing that we're using our resources. So that's it.
I will say, Peter, that I will continue with working with Amy and working with the council to get the businesses back to the table and continue that conversation. And I'm happy to continue working on that. Absolutely.
Thank you.
I have a few questions for Meg. What do you do when you, and this was a great video, and what do you do when you can't understand them, they don't speak your language?
Well, we do have translation services that we can transfer to.
Okay.
But it's just like, you're just kind of trained to like fill in the blanks, right? Sometimes if you're reading something and your eye just automatically fills in the blank, when you have a context of how conversations usually go, your brain can kind of fill in the blanks for things. Like it was much more clear in this video than it was to me when it happened. The Accord, Burgundy Accord, but eventually I'm hearing like the end part and the beginning part, and my brain's like, okay, what is that? Oh, Burgundy Accord.
The next one is, can you just tell me, like, you were telling us about who you had for full-time, who you had for part-time. Can you just do that one more time? Because I was just looking at the book and I just want to understand what you have.
So we have, I'm not typically on the schedule, so there's myself and then I have 5 full-time dispatchers.
So you plus 5, so
Yes.
6 people. 6
And
full-time.
so we have 1 dispatcher assigned to day shift,
Okay.
1 to midnights, and then 1 to eves, and then 2 on a split to fill, like, the midnights person's 2 days off, the split person works her 2 days off, and then 2 eves.
So I was just looking to see this number in the book, what does it mean? So the request for dispatch wages equals 6 full-time people.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the part-time is 1 part-time?
We have 4 part-time
4 part-time.
dispatchers. Only 3 of them typically work, but the other one just maintains their certification. But
Okay, so before you lost the person, you had 7 full-time?
6. Well, 6
And then you lost
plus
someone.
me, yeah.
Okay. All right. It looked like, because we didn't have part-time wages before and we just started that. It looked like.
Right, it used to be all on the same line.
Oh, it used to be in the same line?
Yes.
And so you just separated it now?
We went back. They used to be separated, we combined them for ease, and then we realized we needed them back out so we could see the numbers better.
Okay, all right.
They substitute the other shifts too, don't they, the part-timers?
Yes.
And which avoids overtime.
I'm not questioning what, how you need it,
Oh,
who
no,
you
no.
need. I'm just trying to understand. I compare year after year and try to compare what's new and what's different. So The last question is, Mike, and you might have said it and maybe I missed it, I apologize, but tech support professional services went up 23,000 from last year.
Yeah.
What is that?
So that is a regular increase just based on everything costing more money, and then the other part of it is the what's it called? The new system.
Power DMS.
Power, yeah. So that's Power DMS, which we have two different computer systems that are basically the lifeblood of the police department. One of them, and dispatch. One of them is our records management system. Meg writes a grant that covers a portion of that, but we have to cover the rest of it out of the budget. And then the other one is all of our scheduling, all of our payroll, and all of our accreditation materials, all of our policies. Everybody has to sign off on electronic policies and all that. That is the additional cost for those
So it's just
systems.
it doesn't include fire, it's just your two departments?
A portion of it does. The fire department is on just the records management part of it. He has his own the other systems as well.
Okay.
But yeah, the IT costs are ridiculous. It's the only increase we have.
All my questions.
I'm good.
Nobody else? All right.
Thank you, guys. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
I want to stay with the fire chief. You guys can-
Thank you. For everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
Oh, go. Might come back here. Yeah. Are you leaving?
Yeah, that's okay. Do you want me to stay?
Well, he's passing those out, I can say firsthand how much they do for us at the bank. Because, and that's why I did say before, I think if Route 9 could charge more, that would be, because they never come to my house, but they come to see me all the time that day.
Okay.
Everybody got one? Joe, do you want one, or are you leaving?
I'd actually like to stay.
Oh, you want to stay? Okay.
Go, Joe. Yeah. You're gonna go. You're already out the door.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Good?
Good job.
Where do we miss him?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the work. Really appreciate it.
Do you want to hang here, or do you want me to move over so we can see you
You
better?
go wherever you want.
We're all
You're good.
over here.
Be more comfortable for our necks.
Yeah. Is this okay right here?
Sure.
Howdy.
Howdy.
Hi.
I don't have a presentation for you. I do have an annual report coming up that'll give you all the statistics on our extensive inspections, permitting, day-to-day operations, and how we are at, again, probably the worst position we've been in since I started in 2005. So this is no secret to anybody around here. Again, I am not here to pit one department against another. I'm here to express that we are at a critical level for public safety in the town of Hadley for the fire department. And I can tell you, listening to Chief Mason and to Megan, to Joe, to Mitch, and as a taxpayer, because I'm going to be paying a portion of it, just as all of you will be, I can tell you that this is not the little Hadley that I joined in 2005 when I became your first full-time and only firefighter in the town of Hadley. The number of hotels that have gone up, banks are just out of control. Restaurants, strip malls, it's extensive. It's a lot. So yes, we have this amazing, I think I heard $1.6 billion commercial property value, and again, that doesn't even reflect all of the brand new $1 million homes that we have in North Hadley. 5 40-unit senior and family housing units that we protect at what's now, it's Greenleaf Drive. So Winfield, used to be Winfield Family Estates. A rehab center that is about to reopen its section that was closed during COVID. And again, another I don't know how many units are going down by the bridge at that housing area that's going to be 55 and over. East Street Commons is new since I started. So houses that are 10 feet apart from one another. So imagine a fire scenario, which we almost had one, and we were fortunate we had folks on duty at the time. So again, just a little notice that I say it every year. It's in my annual report that we are. It's my job to report to you that we are in a bad way, and I think we really need to somehow come up with a plan to fix it while respecting the fact that folks don't have bottomless wallets and the ability to afford it. So how can we come up with a plan? I know that the fire department has consistently made every effort to come up with new ways of consolidating costs, applying for grants continuously. Unfortunately now with the way we have it, because we laid folks off, I'm no longer eligible to apply for a federal assistance to firefighter grant. So I can't get funding for full-time employees that I tried 3 times unsuccessfully. And the statement back to us was that we don't have a fiscal need. That was our response for our putting in those applications. So again, that's not making it any easier, but we are continuously doing grants. I put together for you, and again, this is, we have the requested budget of the fire department. So the current, basically, I put as much information on here as I can, and I highlighted some stuff because there's some discrepancies that I have to come up with some additional funding to cover because we have a bottom line dollar amount. And I don't know how I'm going to do that. I don't know how I can cut anything else out of our fire department. We talked about the admin salaries. As a strong chief, I am responsible for the hiring and firing. I can tell you right now that I will go out on sick leave for the rest of my career if I have to lose Heidi, my office person. She works 23 hours a week and does 40 hours of work in that same time frame. Like I said, she has 30 years of experience. She's a firefighter paramedic from Amherst. She was injured on duty driving through the town of Hadley, where she was T-boned while providing patient care in the back of an ambulance, which required that she step down as a firefighter. She is instrumental in, and again, she's put together documentation. She answers every single phone call. She, basically, now that I've lost a deputy chief, she's my deputy chief when it comes to the administrative side of the house. She's doing all the permitting. She's assisting in the building department, putting together the certificates of occupancy for our annual liquor licenses that we have to do continuously every year, on top of probably another 100 life safety inspections, school inspections, quarterly inspections that we're supposed to be getting to. She's the one who coordinates those and is the one making sure that the bills are going out the door. She's also the one who's taken over grant writing. My deputy was doing the SAFE grant, where we were bringing funding in to train students and seniors in fire and life safety. She's taken on that role now. I'm the only one who still actually has the certification for what you need to actually even have that grant. So if I step down, somebody needs to take that role for me, or else we can't apply for the grant. That brings in, probably close to $6,000 or $7,000 for us. I just finished up a $15,500 grant. It's our firefighter equipment grant that the fire chiefs of Massachusetts worked tirelessly with the state fire marshal's office to get a 1-year stay of execution on losing that grant because it hasn't been funded. It is now appropriated but not funded. So this is the last year we have that unless we can get the state legislators to redo it. Our portion is $15,500. It's a competitive grant. I probably won't get that much, but what we try to do is fill in and purchase a set of turnout gear, helmets, something that's out of date, because everything has an expiration in the fire service now. We can't have turnout gear that's over 10 years of age. or else it's a liability. They can't go to class. And if something happens to them and they find that it's out of date, then you're looking at some serious OSHA, because we are now an OSHA. We are required to comply with OSHA standard as well. So again, as far as grants, we're continuously working on that. So I can tell you that when you can take a look at my salaries, and I put together basically two different scenarios for you. The FY26 voted fire only, you can see where we're at. So that's what we had to work with this year, which didn't include any of the funding that was in the EMS budget that was being funded out of stabilization and free cash. That was eliminated, so my current budget had to absorb those costs. So it was about $530-something thousand or $560,000 that had to come out of somewhere in my budget. So you can see what I had to operate with for $373,000 to take care of my firefighters, and that's why we had to lay off 2. The deputy chief stepped down, or actually he moved over to being the chief in Granby. He didn't want to leave, but again, he made a career step. So we lost 8 years of my training him, my succession plan. He was ready to roll into my position as your next fire chief. And he really, really had the pulse of the town. He had the department's pulse. Folks looked up to him, folks wanted to work with him. And it's unfortunate, but I can tell you that he is doing extremely well in Granby, and I love him to death, and I wish him the best in what he's doing. So again, we were put into a very, very tough situation this year. Our overtime is nowhere near what it needs to be. With the layoffs now, I can tell you that I am down to 1 firefighter per shift, and then myself. And I have 1 additional full-time firefighter that was injured, not on duty, but at home. So now he is doing an administrative shift. I'm hoping that he might be able to go back on shift in the next 2 to 3 weeks. He fractured his wrist and multiple things in his back. So he has to go through our process of making sure that he's safe to come back to work. So you saw some of the dispatches for fire. So that was the 112 Russell Street fire. And 1 firefighter was on duty. And that gentleman that was on shift working in the administrative, so he can't do any firefighting. They responded to that location. I can tell you that the house was fully involved. And they did the best that they could to try and get some water on the fire, while Mike Mazulis, who is injured, established command basically and was acting in my behalf. I was on my way back from Worcester from a conference, going about, well, I won't say how fast I was going because Mike's here. So anyway, but again, so having to sit there and wait for, we're not supposed to, we cannot actually attack a structure fire unless we have a minimum of 4 people at that fire. We have to have a 2 in and 2 out. That is an OSHA standard law. But there's no firefighter on the planet that's going to sit there and watch somebody struggling on a 2nd floor. They're going to somehow figure out how to do something. Our last 2 fires, I can tell you that the only thing that we've been able to do until we get more resources that can be anywhere from 12 to 20 minutes or longer, depending on where they're coming from, is we are trying to do an exterior attack and trying to cool the fire down, which is what we did at that call. So we tried to get fire. We were fortunate that there was a hydrant right there. We were fortunate that there was a call force firefighter that happened to be driving by, no turnout gear, but was able to dress the hydrant and get it hooked into the truck, and we were able to start getting water on the scene. The dog, I'm sure you all saw the picture of us doing an ice rescue for somebody's pet that unfortunately knocked the poor woman who was walking him. He saw a squirrel and decided that he was gonna take out the squirrel. Well, the owner ended up going on the ground. It was when we had this much snow, and myself and 1 firefighter and my injured administrative firefighter, we responded to the scene. We had to lug ice rescue gear and ice rescue sled, rope, through all of that, probably, I want to say 100 yards, slide down a slope to the river, get our ice rescue gear on, sitting in 12 inches of snow. And luckily the police were there, and luckily our ambulance was there to help us. So I stood on the shore while my firefighter basically donned the ice rescue equipment, went out on the sled by himself, was able, luckily the dog was wearing a harness, was able to pull the dog, put him on his chest. Then I pulled him back with help from the other firefighters. When he got to a safe location, I said, let the dog go. The dog came off the ice, obviously very cold, was about to go under the ice. And my firefighter rolled off just exhausted. Like, I don't think you understand, first of all, your adrenaline's going. You don't want to see a pet going under and losing them under the, in freezing cold river water. And again, we have folks that come out and say, well, it looks like the dog rescued the firefighter, because we had a picture of him laying on his back. And that, to these guys that are stepping up for us every day, it's really hurtful. Like, it hurts. The fire on East Street, as soon as it started, the post came up, well, the fire department's gonna be asking for more money now. So again, it's death by 1,000 cuts for us. Like, we are struggling every day. I have a pager on my belt, and I'd love to call dispatch and let them tone it off for you. My wife can't hear it anymore. She's toned it out. Or she throws a bottle at me and says, will you shut that thing off, please? I sleep with this under my ear right now because I know that I have one firefighter that might have 2 years of experience on the shift. My son's here, he can tell you. He hears it all the time too. So I sleep with that under my ear because I'm concerned that there's not gonna be somebody showing up to help someone at one of these fires, and it's been happening. We were requested today to Northampton to help our neighbors, and nobody showed up. I had one firefighter and our administrative firefighter that couldn't respond. We actually had to pass on responding to our neighbors. So now I have a call from the chief of Northampton, because he's very familiar with what's going on, and we are probably gonna be taken off of their run card now, where it took us years to build up the trust and become a part of this regional mutual aid solution. And now, again, our mutual aid is not gonna be mutual. We go to them, they come to us. They responded to, I don't know, maybe you saw the traffic today on Route 9, a car versus a motorcycle. There was 2 of us at that call, and we had to request a Northampton ambulance to come take care of one of the parties, and then our action ambulance took care of the other person. So not only were we not able to bring our own ambulance to it, we had to, again, trouble our neighbors for mutual aid. So, just some food for thought as to where we're at right now. So again, I built this budget out as best as I could based upon what we have for funding. I know there was some questions about the increases in pay. I've corrected some of those. I did not get a 19% increase. The number that you see here, the FY 2027, the 147,270 is the actual requested salary. I get a 5% increase every year as part of my contract. I did not ask for any more. I didn't ask for less. I think I am a valued enough employee that I deserve that. Again, I'm doing multiple jobs. I'm also your emergency management director. I'm in the middle of doing a major update of our hazard mitigation plan. I work continuously with Mike Mason on our levee system that is in dire need of repairs, and just hundreds of meetings trying to figure out how we're going to bridge that gap. And we're coming into flooding season now too, so we'll see what goes on with that. So again, that was corrected. So that brought down about 19,000, I think. Again, Heidi's salary, I am not taking that out of my budget. I will find it elsewhere. I will eliminate another firefighter if I have to before I eliminate her. I cannot lose her. I'm just telling you that right now. It's going to impact our revenues. It's going to impact so many things and again, I would love to share Joe if I had no other opportunity. I know how great Joe is as well, but Joe has an excessive amount of work down her end of the building as well. She comes down daily to meet with Heidi to figure out what they can try and do together as well. They coordinate on all that stuff. So it's, again, sharing somebody for 20 hours here and 20 hours for them, it's just, my opinion is just, it's not gonna be helpful. So I will find the money elsewhere somehow. The deputy chief, I was asked to take that out of the wages for full-time so you can get an eye on it. So the 104,239, The town administrator had put in $100,000 for that. The reason why it was 104,239, and you can see on the other sheet, I believe I have it in there for you can actually see that budget. The actual base salary is 97,739, and that includes, because we are looking for a paramedic. So we're looking for a fire chief that can actually operate as a paramedic. If we can't do that, then that number will drop down by, it'll drop down by $3,500. So a paramedic gets $6,500 a year stipend. That covers for all their training, all their certificates, everything. All that is included in that. They don't get overtime. They don't get anything for doing that training. That pay is what covers it, and it's extensive what they need to do. It's a 2-year cycle on that. So again, that brings it up to the 104,239. So that's why I have to find that 4,000. Again, it went down a little bit on the wages full-time. I came up with a number based upon my numbers here, and you can see them. This is actually per contract for FY27. This is what's actually listed in their contract for their rates for the employees that we have and the total. So that's the 509,119, which went down from 509,139. The 60,400, and this is another oversight that I have to figure out, unless we can figure out somewhere of finding funding. But we had decided to move 2 lines into one. So you can see there was a 20,400 inspection duty wages. So that covers firefighters training. It covers if they come in and they help out with maintaining vehicles, if they come in to wash their turnout gear. This is our call force, not full-time employees, call force members. We decided to include that with their part-time wages, which that is for them going to calls and other responses that they do as well. So we decided to put those together, but for some reason it came out to the town admin budget was 30,000. I think it was because we forgot to move the 20,400 up. But I get it. We are balanced now. I talked with Linda today. The work she's put into it, I get it. So we're going to have to figure it out. And then again, overtime, I actually dropped that down a bit. That was up higher. But what I did is I went back and did a calculation of the average overtime, which I had higher, but we have had employees leave, so that number's now lower. So I went back and did the average because, you know, we have a firefighter that makes $63.83 an hour. He's our captain, and he loves overtime. There's other firefighters that want nothing to do with overtime. So you'll see where that, I kind of have to go a little high on that average because it's usually the $63 overtime rate versus the, you know, the $45 or $41 overtime rate. So I did lower that from, it's down to the 122,400. So you can see that at the bottom, there's 2 lines down there that might be options for me to find that, but I'm looking, I gotta somehow come up with 83,636. That does bring back in FY27 that one firefighter that basically that position was frozen. And I requested that we not unfreeze it so that we could actually hire the deputy chief. Because we don't have enough money as it is, but we didn't want to go any deeper than that. So we held off on hiring that firefighter position in an effort that we could, move forward with getting a deputy chief. Deputy chief, I'm telling you right now, is probably going to be the candidate for my position when I retire, which is coming sooner. So the official date's not out, but I can tell you that it will probably be within the next 4 months. So again, it's unfortunate that our succession plan went down the tubes, but it did. So now we're trying to find somebody that can take the reins here and do a really good job for our community. And I think that's the deputy chief's rate is a reasonable rate. I can tell you that salary rate is for being here for 25 years. So are you going to start your next chief at that? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what you'll find. But probably not would be my guess. So hopefully there's some savings there. And then everything else, I'm telling you that there's some lines in here, and I wrote down some numbers for you just so I could review it with you, but there's some lines here that I can't physically go any lower unless somebody tells me whose cell phones I'm shutting off, whose fire alarms am I turning off, whose radios are we getting rid of and cutting off? Am I eliminating the DPW's portable radios?
Fire extinguishers.
Fire extinguishers that we didn't repair for 2 budgets because we couldn't afford it. I write tickets to people that don't keep up their life safety devices in their buildings, but we physically could not afford it. So we are doing it this year because we can't wait anymore. So my budget shares things that are being used throughout town. So the new fiber that we have and that provides all of our town buildings with internet, that comes out of my budget. Again, the cell phones, the fire department phones. Mike does the long distance, I do the fire department, just the landline phones. Spectrum, which hopefully once we get our fiber up and running, we're down to $53 a month for that because we have to keep one line. But hopefully when we go fully onto our own fiber, there's a chance we might be able to actually eliminate that as well. This also includes all the sprinkler system inspections that are required quarterly, fire alarm inspections that are required annually, monitoring, and testing and maintenance. We are now finally waiting for 2 pieces of equipment that we have been waiting for almost a year on to finish up getting our fire alarms into our own dispatch center so that we can eliminate anywhere from $330 to some of them are $450 per year per building just for monitoring. So we're trying to get that all so that our dispatchers can actually it'll be on a screen. We know that there's a smoke detector activation in the senior center. They answer it instead of it going to a third party and then coming to us. It comes direct to us. They dispatch us. We come and respond to the call.
Right now, what happens is the alarm goes off and it goes, like if you have a security system in your home, it goes to that company and then that company takes the time to call our dispatch center. So you're talking about losing several minutes before we even get the call.
So we're looking at about an $18,000 savings a year on that alone. Again, extinguishers, we were normally at about $5,000 to $5,500. We have over 280 extinguishers in town, and that went down substantially when we built out the new buildings because they didn't require as many because they're sprinklered. So we've really tried to decrease where we can, but the schools, the police department, fire, there's extensive extinguishers. The water treatment, they have 2 extinguishers per pump station. Those all require 6-year and 12-year maintenance inspections. Sometimes it's cheaper to actually buy a new one than to have them send them out to be hydroed. So we do an evaluation of that cost, and unfortunately, we're in that period of time right now where we're getting those 6-year requirements and the 12-year hydro tests. So that's why we're seeing this increase. So again, this is a bare bones budget. There's no fluff, there's no extra in here. The fire equipment, radio maintenance, we physically need $108,300 to actually cover the contract, our maintenance, and the radios that we rent from Goosetown. So police, DPW, and fire, that's the cost. Like I don't know if I don't pay that, it's got to come out of a different line, and that's what's been happening for the past couple of years. So that's where we're at. There's other lines that we have Nixle. That's our reverse 911 system. I can't eliminate that. A portion of that was actually that's all under the fire department budget, but we also have our required reporting software because we have to report all of our fire incidents to the federal government. So it's called NERIS. So our system, that has a cost, and part of that cost was under the ambulance side because we report our ambulance calls as well. That went away when that budget was eliminated. So now I'm trying to figure out how I'm funding that for the rest of the year. So that's what that FY 2027, the requested current level, just current level funded. And I have to figure out where I'm going to come up with that money that's over. And then the second line that I put in that says FY 2027 requested, that's to bring us just back to FY 2026 level. which would be 8 firefighters. We had 9. That would bring us back just to 8. So 2 per shift, plus a deputy and the chief. Again, you can see the overtime because we're adding 2 additional staff. And those are basically what I did is we need to have an officer in charge of a shift for one of our shifts. So that rate is a little bit higher if we can find somebody that would take it. We're also trying to find that last paramedic so we can actually get our ambulance back on track. We were tasked with getting our ALS license. That was supposed to go in June so that we could actually start responding at the ALS level. That was put on hold. Our ambulance has been out the door once in the past 4 months because we don't have the staff to do it. So we are now back to fully requesting mutual aid, which I can tell you has an impact on them, but it also has an impact on the response time to our residents. And that was the whole point of putting together this program, was to make sure that our town has the best service for our residents and the people that visit us. And again, I understand that there was an anticipation of revenues, and that revenue is coming. It's just that we're only responding to second calls right now. We have a contract with Action. They are the primary responder to all of our calls. If they are if they're out doing a call, our ambulance was the one that was covering those second calls, and we average about 150 calls a year. That's would actually increase when we got our ALS license, because both Northampton and Amherst, if they call, they want an ALS ambulance coming. So that's why we would also be seeing calls to those 2 communities because again, we don't have enough ambulances around us. Northampton just went to a minimum staffing level of 15 with 4 ambulances on duty every day of the week, with the chief attempting to not have to call mutual aid. He was so frustrated that he finally, after a month, I think he said, unfortunately had to call mutual aid for an ambulance. So again, you can just see the call volume that we have. It's intense. The car accident today took 2 ambulances out of service. So who's next? If that happens, who's coming next to Hadley when something happens at Greenleaves? Hopefully Amherst, maybe. If not, then we're moving out to Belchertown. We're moving out to South Hadley. And then that just trickle effects down the road even further. So that second request for FY 2027, that would be to staff us basically back to where we were at for the 2. I did write down those cost differences. I know that was a question. And what I did add in an effort, because I know that there's the benefit side of it. So if we're asking for 3 additional folks, and that's a cost of $260,000, you're looking at $104,000 in benefits. So that total cost is $364,000. So for the 2 that we're looking for, which we already had in place, so to get us just to where we're at now, we needed basically the benefits to bring that 1 employee in, or 2 employees that are missing. That would be $48,000 in benefits for $120,000 of salaries. I just did an average of $60,000 for their salary. Yes.
So Mike, that budget here, the second one you have here, that's to staff you at the FY26 level.
This one?
Right, with
Yep.
benefits, if I'm hearing you correctly, it'd be.
Yeah, I didn't have the benefits in there, but yeah, I was hearing
Roughly
how.
364.
For the first year for this,
Yes.
it's benefits is $48,000 for the level we are at right now, just to get us back to where we were. If we add an additional 3 to bring us up to the actual 2 per shift,
Yeah.
that would be it's $104,000 in benefits. And I base it upon 40%. I know everyone does it between 37 and 40%. So I went on the high side. So in an effort to, again, I presented multiple times on adding so that we had 3 per shift. We were at the point where we only needed 3 more employees to actually make that happen. But then things went a different direction. Because we were concerned about the same thing the chief was concerned about, is overtime. So you can see our overtime is trickling up. So in an effort to try and cover that, the union has been, again, they came back and basically, Mike was a part of it, they basically asked for nothing because they were trying to save employees. Mike can attest that we were all sitting there going, when are they gonna ask for more money? And it never came, correct, Mike?
Yep.
I mean, we all kind of walked out scratching our heads, but that's their commitment to this department. And we have folks that don't want to leave. We had two that completely didn't want to leave, but they also didn't want to have one of the other employees lose their position. So that's why the order of layoff they followed by. And they are now very happy employees in the city of Northampton. One of them is a paramedic, and another one is about to be a paramedic. We paid for them to go to paramedic school. So our cost for those employees that we were lost was probably close to $200,000 with the turnout gear that we had to purchase for them. And they were operating, they were fully functional in the fire department. They had gone through the fire academy, they were there. So unfortunately, but I did ask the mayor of Northampton if I sent them a bill, and she kind of chuckled and said, no, sorry, but thank you for training. Anyway, so those are the two numbers, and then you can see the last is the town administrators, their budget. And again, I will figure out what I have to do to try and come up with that and get us back to that level fund. But it's gonna be a struggle. I think basically what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to pull it from some of the bigger lines. The vehicle maintenance, I can tell you, there's an ambulance that was moved into the fire department budget for maintenance. And I mean, we haven't inspected our ladder truck this year. It's required to have an annual inspection for our ISO rating. We're already at a negative $2,000, plus our squad truck that we actually purchased for the town, our association, and donated it to the town. Basically, it's having a fuel issue, and we had to replace a part. So again, that was an unexpected $25,000. But that truck alone, if we were to pay for it today, I looked online just today, you're looking at a $193,000 truck that we got for $26,000. And that's from the city of Concord, so thank you, Concord. They had a fire in one of their stations. They decided that they didn't want to keep it because it smelled like smoke inside, so it was basically put into surplus. And we had the opportunity to purchase it. We cleaned it out, refurbed it, and now we have an amazing truck that has 6,000 miles on it with basically a $100,000 setup. It's actually it's called a mini pumper. It's a quick attack mini pumper that has it has a tank, a pump on it, has our extrication tools on it, and because we're down to one person per shift, they're taking that truck rather than trying to manage a $680,000 pumper by themselves. So again, it's a challenge, but at least we're getting a truck.
So there was a fire in the fire station on their fire truck?
Correct. Not in that truck. It was actually something else that burnt up, but yeah,
okay.
Good for us. We'll take it.
I've got a question when it comes to, Amy can help me out with this, and also with Mike when it came to our joint meeting by board. When I think it was probably about a month ago, you were making a request of saying that you needed some funds because of what's going to be happening in the future with you for your employment, that you wanted some money for a deputy chief. And didn't we as a collective say, yes, we took $75,000 out of our finance committee?
Not yet, but we will. I mean, if
we voted. I just didn't know if it had applied to it,
No,
or how does that work?
That's it. That was for 26 budget.
Yeah, and you don't need 75,000 for two months.
No, I don't think it was 75.
No,
Yeah, it
you
was
didn't.
75 that day.
They said that
yeah.
I think you guys said that you have 75,
Yeah, you
but
have
we were going to
75.
evaluate
That's-
where we're at with the overtime overage because we only had 30,000 in overtime. So it would be looking at it at the end of FY25.
Yeah, he does need
26.
funding, but I don't know that, we don't know that it's the full 75.
Right, but that was potentially for a
Be the
deputy chief,
Right,
correct?
For the rest of 26.
Correct.
So whatever that prorated is really, so I don't think he's formally filed a request
No,
and
not
you
yet.
haven't voted on it because we don't know the amount yet.
Okay.
Yeah, so you see the amount, that's a projected amount. We could have somebody that comes in, there's a scale. So it's gonna be a negotiation to see, we're gonna do our best to stay at that level. But if we have to go up a step to bring somebody that's, you know, fully trained, has all their certifications, is ready to move into a chief's position, as CFO, has all this other stuff, then it would be a conversation with that committee that's reviewing it. And again, it's gonna be a committee. I've requested town administration, love to have a finance member. I've asked a public person to be there so that they can actually see what's gonna happen. Ultimately, it's my decision on who the employee is, but I really want feedback. The union's gonna be there, and one of our call force folks. Because, you know, we want them to have buy-in for this person, and I don't want them to be uncomfortable, because then we're gonna lose people. People are gonna walk out the door. You know, again, you know what you got with me. I live in town, I was committed, I am committed still, and, but I can tell you it's been hairy lately. I'm sure you are probably sick of hearing it, but I can't do it anymore. Can't.
Just so, oh, go ahead, Bob.
Real quick one, maybe for Linda.
Yeah,
I don't
sure.
know, either of you, like, most of the budgets, we had the two in the red numbers, I call it, you know, the expenses and salaries. Why are there 4 for the fire department?
I just basically, so I put those in there so you'd know what I'm short. So I'm short $35,136 for salaries, and I'm short $48,000 for $500 for what I needed.
Expenses, okay.
So that total that I'm short is the 83.
Mike, does that
636.
include the overage that we calculated for like your salary and stuff? You can move some of that?
That's it.
That's accounted
That's
for.
it, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure everybody understands, we did miscalculate for the TA budget, Mike's salary. He gave us everybody's salary, all the stuff that they make, overtime rate, you know, any stipends they get, all that
uniforms,
stuff. And
yeah.
Mike broke it out to be transparent, and we thought that it was to be added together, basically, to come up with the total. When in actuality, he already had the total, but he was just showing us how he came up with the total. So with that overage, he does have the ability to cover some of those costs. Like, we estimated the $100,000 for the deputy chief because we had no idea what he was gonna bring this person in at. So, like, he can find the $4,000 in his budget to cover that cost. The problem is that there's just not enough to cover all of that stuff. And I'll let him explain it, but that's just for, what are we calling it, Mike? Status quo?
That's literally just to get what we have now.
Bare
That's not
bones
going to
what we
the,
have now.
that's not the 2 per shift. That's still with the
That's-
2 laid off. So that's me, a deputy, and 5 firefighters.
Right. So he needs 80, even with that calculation and kind of shifting funds around to cover what we didn't calculate high enough for, he still needs 83,636, just to stay where we are right now.
So
The
the
next line
80s
over.
The 83, that's not 2 per shift.
No, ma'am.
That's,
The next box
over is 2 per
is
shift.
2 per
334.
shift, correct.
Plus benefits, right? Is that what you
Is
said?
it plus or is that included?
That's not included in the
You
285.
said
no.
104 for approximately?
To add the 3, it's, what did I say?
360.
I'm sorry, yes, 104 is the benefits for the total of 360.
338.
We've never traditionally put the benefits into the budget, so that's, you know, that's always something that's.
Yep.
The question
I
is, that
understand.
really don't want the final end of it.
Right.
What is that 358,800? What is that number? Because I see you're 987 to 35 to 48.5. What's that 358,800? What is that?
We're used, oh,
That
that's
third-
that's the total expenses for that line.
So 978 is salaries.
Yep,
You're short
358.
3,500.
35,000.
35,000, sorry.
Yep,
358.8 is expenses and you're short 48.5.
yep.
Yes.
And the cutoff line is the, under 50, the account 5140. That's where salaries end, and the next line starts the expenses. In your main book on page 34, I have a solid line there, but you can draw it on this one.
So the 334, 335,000, that gives you 2 firefighters per shift, puts you at a safe quota, right?
The which one?
With the 334,000, that gives you 2 firefighters per shift.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say it puts us at a safe level,
Well, no,
but it puts us
at
at.
a
Restores
Yes,
to
it restores to,
25.
yes,
Right.
minus 1.
That-
Three,
Oh, okay,
three
that's like
positions, right?
Yeah, it was three positions, yes. Yes, that's on the red sheet.
3 positions?
The 2 layoffs, and then the,
Chief, deputy.
well, you have the deputy chief. We didn't fill in that 9th position that you see as vacant on the sheet. But there's that paramedic step. So that's what we're talking about. There's the 3 there. I had to put 3 in for that line as well. You know what I mean? Because in order to bring us up, it's 3 either, it's 3 this year and it's 1 this year and it's 3 next year. It's the same budget. It's just if we're gonna keep where we're at right now, it's adding that 1 firefighter back. If it's bringing us back to the 2 per shift plus we had 2 shifts with 1, that's 3 people I need to hire.
So,
And that would give 2 people to go into a fire. Not really safe, but safely at least going to a fire, because you want 2 in, 2 out when it comes to any kind of a structural fire or any kind of fire. So with that 8 full-timers and a deputy, that's what allow that for going into a structure.
If I'm there, yes.
If you're there.
Yeah, and then we have, we still have call force, but again, we have probably 6 to 8 active call force firefighters.
Okay.
We've been fortunate the time of day that some of these calls have happened. But again, like I said today, there wasn't anybody available. So it's hit or miss because they have full-time jobs, they have families, we have folks that are, they have babies now and they're taking care of children during the day. Again, we are very responsible on calling mutual aid right away. We have to. So basically, if we have a confirmed fire, we are automatically going to a second alarm assignment, which brings in Amherst, Northampton, South Hadley, and then we've worked with South Deerfield. They have a trained RIT team, which is that 2 outside that are supposed to be there to save the 2 that goes in. So again, there's going to be, unless there is a life hazard where we have pets, we have human beings in there. Those 2 firefighters, my deputy and myself, are all gonna be in gear going in there to figure it out. So.
Can you clarify the 2 in, 2 out rule? I just wanna make sure that everybody understands. It doesn't mean, maybe I'm wrong all these years, but 2 in, 2 out means you need enough firefighters to have 2 people go into the fire, and it doesn't mean 2 people, those 2 come out. It means there also needs to be 2 more people outside.
4 total.
So you need 4 total. Even I was confused.
No, I got it.
I just want to make sure everybody gets that.
Yeah, so the OSHA standard now, which is, federal law, basically we have to have 2 firefighters outside that can help effect a rescue of 1 or both of the firefighters that are fighting the fire or trying to make a rescue inside.
So without mutual aid, we're still spraying from the outside, even with.
And I can tell you, again, it depends on the time of day. We were fortunate that Northampton at our 112 East Street fire were returning from a call. So they had an engine company on the road. So they were able to get there in 12 minutes. But normally we're looking at 15. It took South Hadley close to 40 minutes to get there. They're waiting for staff to get in there. So, it doesn't take 4 people to operate on a fire ground. It takes 16. We have people that need to run the pump. They have to address and take a hydrant. I don't know if, anybody's had the experience of trying to lug a 2.5-inch hose line that's full, but it certainly can't be done with 1 person or a 4-inch supply line. There's a lot of different jobs. Never mind, my job is supposed to be walking around the building, doing command stuff, sizing up the scene, figuring out how we're gonna put this fire out, figuring out where we're shutting off power. Is there gas here? Are there people up in the building somewhere? That's what I'm supposed to be doing, not pulling 2.5-inch with the 1 firefighter I have, because we see this house going up in flames and there's nothing we can do. So that's where we're, it's become a hazard, and we're getting, my guys they're exhausted. We don't have the bench strength now that we have that other injury. I literally had to respond from home because somebody went home sick. There was nobody left. We had nobody else to call. So we reached out to the call force, said, we need help if a call comes in, and then I was responding from home. So it's just, again, we're expected to respond to these calls. We cannot not go to these calls. That's the law. And on top of that, I wouldn't think anybody wouldn't want us to go. We have folks that call because the batteries in their smoke detectors are dead, but they don't know that. They hear a detector beeping and it wakes them up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I just got the nicest letter from one of our residents who was so embarrassed for calling us, but wanted to express their thanks because my captain, Brian Washkevitz, showed up there by himself, searched the house, found the detector was having the issue, and they were so thankful for it, embarrassed, but thankful that they sent me an email saying, what a professional. And they offered to give him we asked him if we could give him something. He's like, no, we're all set. This is our job. And that's Brian. Brian's a Hadley person too, and he is passionate about this place. And the money he has saved for all of our equipment doing the work is crazy. Like putting in a turbo in a truck. I could never do that, but he did it yesterday. And so imagine if I had to ship that out to Marcotte Ford at $150 an hour. He did it while he was on shift and in between going to calls. So, okay, I gotta wash up the grease quick and then I'll jump on a fire truck or a medical call. And it's across the board. All of my members are committed to this town. They would have been gone already if they weren't. They want to stay here. They want to see us succeed. They're just truly hoping that we can somehow figure out how to bridge this gap. And I hope that I really truly hope we can come up with a solution. And again, I'm not trying to pit department against department because I think that we need a lot of this. It's not just the fire department.
I have a few questions for you. So I was looking at the bottom one, so I saw the 6 firefighters plus the deputy, and then 8 firefighters plus the deputy.
Yep.
And I looked at the difference in the salaries, what you were showing, 35,000, and then the other one would be 285,000.
Mm-hmm.
But when I looked at that, I'm like, well, wait a minute, the difference of those two is 250. That would say each firefighter would have $125,000. That seems steep. So I don't really think that's the number. I think if I go up higher and I look at the full-time wages, the difference between the 634 and the 509.
The 643.
Yeah, the 643 and the 509, that difference is 134,000. So that's about 67,000 per employee. That makes sense to me.
Right, but there's also the overtime and the.
So.
Oh, and the other part that you're not seeing inside so that total down at the bottom.
Yeah.
That doesn't include the call force. Are you looking at this sheet or this sheet?
Oh, I was looking at this one.
Okay, because this one where you see the salaries doesn't include the call force out, the 60,000.
So, well, I'm just trying to understand this one.
Okay.
So, okay. So when I look at the part-time wages, so we're at 60. So that line item, part-time wages, that's the call force you talked about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So and you said, and because you combine the two.
The other
that's
part.
The other one
I know exactly what the discrepancy is, and I haven't told you about it yet.
Oh, okay.
So you'll see in the. Sorry.
Please.
So that same line, if you look over one, it jumps up to 135,400.
Yes.
In an effort, because we're not going to be going with. We actually had funding in our EMS budget for per diems. Do you remember? We had $75,000 for per diems, so that we could actually bring them in to fill impact shifts, help us with our training of our paramedics.
Okay.
So I included that. So because we're not going to the 3 per shift, we are going to need to figure out how we can fill shifts and utilize per diems versus, because the union, I'm sure, again, this will be part of the bargaining, but if we can bring a per diem in for a 12-hour shift versus a full-time person at overtime, that's why we put that money back in. That was.
Okay.
So that was I think I had put in 75,000 for that, or 50,000. I'm sorry, I can find
Okay.
out that number for you. Does that
All right,
clear that up a little?
yeah, that's
Okay.
helpful. It's separate, it's a totally separate thing. Yeah. So right now, though, the way this budget's looking, with only having 30,000, that's, you're not going to have enough for, not only you won't have per diem, but you're not going to have enough even for the call force. Am I right?
Correct. Yeah, and again, the FY '27 requested, I was asked to put together, again, if we're gonna discuss doing an override, that's the bare minimum of what we would be looking to get somewhat whole. I understand on the current, I have to figure out how I'm gonna fill that void.
The additional 35,136 for the FY '27 requested with the yellow figures.
Yeah.
That's where I'm gonna be
That
coming
covers
from.
the call force reduction. So that would restore that line to where it was originally.
We'll restore the call force.
Correct.
I mean, if we don't have any firefighters, we have to have a call force.
Correct. Yes.
So yeah, I have to figure out what lines it's gonna come out of expenses, because I can't pull it out of salaries unless I lower the overtime again, which I don't think I can, and do that safely. I mean, so again, I have to find it in expenses, and those lines that can handle it are, again, the engine ladder maintenance. You can see that was dropped to 30,000. We had to cut an additional 10 out as part of the last budget. So again, I can tell you, that, I put together just some numbers of what the averages are for these trucks, where our engine one, which we're waiting for a new truck to come in, that's a 2001 Quint, and basically we've done no inspection on it this year. In FY '23, we spent $3,400. We had a good year. FY '24, we had to replace all the wiring in the turntable. That was $46,000. And then in FY '25, it was just under $10,000 to do the annual repairs. That's for one truck. Engine 3, our 2006 engine, in '23, we spent $7,500. '24, $6,900. FY '25, we needed tires, $22,274. And then FY '26, we're already up to $11,250. Engine 4, our newest truck, again, new is 2017 was when it was new. So FY '23, $16,000. FY '24, $14,000. FY '25, $81,000. And FY '26, $16,000. So that's an annual pump test, full inspection of the truck. It's DOT. We can't do that in-house. We can't take that liability of not having a professional company do that. So.
Can I ask,
Yep.
so the overtime, when I'm looking at the overtime budget at 122,000 versus the next column, which is 163, but that column right there would include two more firefighters. If I increase
Right.
2 more firefighters, why is our overtime going to increase more? Wouldn't it go down?
Because we're at a minimum staffing of, we're supposed to be at a minimum staffing of 2.
Right, but if I did, well, what I'm saying is, right now, you have I'm just trying to understand it.
Yeah.
So right now, full-time wages, that's 509, so that's with the 6 firefighters.
Correct, yep.
And we have 122,000 in overtime. If we add more firefighters, wouldn't the overtime go down?
You're only adding 2 additional firefighters to get us to 2 per shift.
Okay.
So if the union contract, which they agreed to not, because we can't go any lower than 1, the minimum is 2.
Right.
So basically having only 2 per shift, again, myself and the deputy, we fill when we can, but they have to be offered first right of that. So I had to add in some overtime for those 2 shifts. And I mean, that's,
Okay.
I wish I could say it
No,
would go
I
down. It would go down if we had the 3 per shift. It would.
Yeah.
We would be at the. We wouldn't. it's like he's saying, the 2 is the minimum. So if
Well,
we
I
had
get
the
that,
3.
but I'm thinking either one of those numbers is wrong. I'm thinking the 122 then is definitely wrong, because if you have less people, you're gonna need more overtime. Right? Because you're gonna have less, you'd only have 1 per shift, so you're gonna need more people.
It's based upon 408 hours of overtime per person. And I estimated it at $50 per hour based upon the salaries of everybody. And that's on the
Oh,
other
that's
sheet.
how you come up with that number, because
Yes.
you did it per person. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. now
Because,
I know
and
where
that
you came up with the
includes,
number.
that doesn't just include sick time, holiday pay. I mean, that's all, you can see every penny of it, of how it's broken down. But also if we have training, they even went back to not, it used to be a 3-hour minimum. That's gone.
Yeah.
They eliminated that for us. So it's a 1-for-1. So again, it's,
So is it possible that overtime figure would not be realized at the end of the year?
potentially, yeah. Yeah. You might not use all of that. You might not have everybody use the 408 hours.
Who knows?
So, but
Who knows?
I like if I put in the full amount,
Well, okay,
like,
so that, it's just
everybody's-
because it's not a realistic number because of,
this is a lower realistic number than when we talked with HR. Like they wanted me to put in 139,000.
yeah.
So, I mean,
But I think that what they're saying is what we saw with police is that if you have more people on
Mhm.
shifts, there will be less of a call for overtime.
sure, I agree with you, but we're not quite there if we don't
See,
have.
that's how
that
I
three.
think we're all thinking.
Yeah,
The same
that
rationale as the
explains-
police department, that you get, if we went along with this, you'd have less of a need for overtime, and instead we see it going up.
If we went with the 3 per shift, though,
Yeah.
Right.
that's the
I
problem. Is
think
we're
that
not
what's
going to the
happening
3.
is that 122 is not a realistic number. Is probably,
It was actually more. I lowered that.
yeah.
He says
Right.
it's all unrealistic, right?
I wish I don't. I mean,
Well,
you can see where my overtime is now.
You're trying to do your best you can and getting a wish list.
I mean, I don't. We normally try and cover.
Yeah.
We try to cover overages with
Yeah.
money that's not utilized from the call force lines.
Yeah.
But that number is reduced to 30,000 now, so we don't have any backup if we. I mean, just think about all the fires we had right now.
Well,
With
someone
all that
said, all of a
overtime.
sudden, where are all these fires coming from? It's like they're, all of a sudden, boom, 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 you got 3 big ones right in a row.
All the, well, I mean, we're not even
I'm sure you're
including all
hearing
the,
it too.
well, all the fires we had this past summer when it was so dry.
Yeah.
We had crews out for a week. That was overtime. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
How many of the calls are down Route 9? Whether if it's, I'm sure there's, you look up your numbers and you look up the history of, there's probably more calls being sent out, being dispatched to Route 9 for, like you said, smoke detector, CO, carbon monoxide problems, or,
not so much at the commercial properties.
no?
Our biggest call volume you're gonna see is at the Winfield Senior and Family Estates, because you have 40 units there, and they burn their toast, fire alarm goes off, we have to respond to it. Like, we don't know if,
Right.
that's,
Go to the next apartment right next
yeah,
door.
hotels really haven't been bad because they are monitored 24/7 by somebody at the front desk. So the way it's set up is the alarm will go off and go to the front desk. They'll evaluate, and then if it's something going on, it'll come into us. There's other safeguards to that, so if a sprinkler head goes off, it goes to full alarm to us. If a heat detector goes off in the room, it knows that something's going on, so it goes to full alarm. So that's how we handle some of those situations. And again, it's decreased now, but our fire prevention, it's been a struggle lately to keep up with some of, we have some structures here that, haven't been keeping up, but we have to get in there and get the inspections done and keep them going so that we don't have the fire alarms. We have a lot of residential fire alarms in town. So, we have a lot of car accidents in town.
Oh.
So, we used to average 460 car accidents a year. It's slowed down because the Route 9, the you know, when they were redoing Route 9, everybody had to slow down. So,
400 car
yeah.
Something.
We used to get 700 or 800 a year.
It's like 2 or 3 a day.
Because they include like the fender benders, like we don't, if a call comes in, and they determine it's just an exchange of info, they don't dispatch us. But we actually got caught with our pants down a couple times. So our protocol is that we are toned off for a motor vehicle accident. If PD arrives on scene and they determine there's no need for fire, they cancel us. But we had 2 instances where a party was actually trapped in the car, went unresponsive, the ambulance was dispatched, they couldn't get into the car, and we weren't notified. We didn't even know it was happening. So we immediately were dispatched, and the nasty grams came in from the fire department that had responded saying, why isn't the fire department going? That happened a second time, and it's now our policy that we go out for all car accidents, and if it's nothing, we get canceled. You have a full-time firefighter on duty, they can go and make sure the scene is safe. We have, you know, when you're trying to deal with an accident on Route 9, it's nice to have a big gigantor fire truck blocking traffic like it was today, because people literally will try and hit us. It's insane how people, like, I think they think that our lights mean drive at us rather than get out of the way. It's scary. So
When you're bringing that up, of course, people ask me and they're wondering, why is that every single time the fire truck goes out for just a simple fender bender? So if there's an officer that is usually the first on scene, majority of the time, and your officers are well enough trained to evaluate and say, okay, cancel that fire or cancel that ambulance, it's just a trading of information. So they are doing that.
yes,
If
and
something-
the dispatchers are doing it as well.
Okay.
But I can tell you that we've had some accidents that have come in as, oh, it's a fender bender in front of Dick's.
Yeah.
And the car was plastered into the front door of Dick's. And the party was injured. We had one at Home Depot where it came in as an accident in the parking lot. A woman in a minivan accidentally hit the gas, went up over the curb, ended up on the roof, and was trapped and injured inside. So again, a lot of times what people report as they're driving by isn't what's actually going. We've had, how many times have we've been canceled, and then all of a sudden, oh, Jesus, oh, you know, everybody's starting to calm down, and then all of a sudden the back pain shows up, and now we're getting there late, because now, you know, we're getting called after the fact. So that's why that's our policy, and the police have been really, really good about it. So we actually implemented, Jimmy Keitsa implemented that before I became full-time chief. That was back in probably 2005, 2006.
That you roll no matter what.
Yep.
Unless.
Yep, dispatch or police.
Dispatched off.
Yep.
Okay. So you have 5 and 1. So for 27, for you to have 2 more firefighters and a deputy chief, so that'd be 3, right? That would be an additional 334.89. That's what you'd be looking for on the bottom.
Yep.
For 27 to having 3 more fire guys.
And that
A
includes,
deputy and 2 other.
that includes the increases to the expense lines too.
That increases the, okay.
So you see the 48, that's included in there, the 48,950.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what threw me. It includes quite a bit. It includes the overtime, and it also includes the,
The 104,
Call force.
yep, call force.
yeah, so it's, the call force is important.
If we can find them. Like, we're actively recruiting all the time.
But you don't use it, that money, if they don't come.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
if
it's-
it, exactly, yep, it
it's-
comes back.
So for 3 more people, you need $335,000.
Plus 100 for benefits.
Right, 40% of, right, in that number. 120, so that would almost be
438.
438.
Thought it included the benefits, 334. It doesn't?
No,
Wow.
no, we don't.
No, we
We
only
wouldn't put it in.
recently started trying to do those calculations from a department head perspective because of the increases in health insurance. Every time in the past when a department head has requested additional hours that put somebody over the threshold to get benefits or an additional employee. We were never required to calculate that. It was always the town side that would calculate the benefits because we had no idea. David Nixon used to do it in a way where he would have a view of the entire town and kind of have an idea of who's taking benefits, who's not taking benefits, and he would kind of fluctuate it as he saw fit. Now that we're in hell when it comes to health insurance costs, we have to make sure that we're adding those numbers in from a department head perspective. We've never done that before.
So it's 438 then, it's
I got
the total.
That would be
I got
the total.
467. I did that times 334.89 times 1.4, which would be the salary plus 40% of 467.
What's the 334 pure salary though?
Yeah, you're only doing the 40%
20,000.
of the 285, 139, not
Right.
the total.
If you look up, Peter, the salaries are 285,139.
Okay, I'm
Same
sorry.
problem.
I was going for the
40% of that,
334.
yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So it's 40% of that plus
Okay.
the 48,950, and that'll give you the total.
Okay, that's
that would
right.
need to be added to
That
the
number I
entire
got
town
wrong.
budget.
Okay, I apologize.
So 388.
You know, I
This
still
is
don't
so-
have to say
this
that
is so
doesn't make
confusing.
sense to me because really it's only the 134 difference in that employee wages.
Right.
The rest of it is
285
overtime,
times
so we're not
40%.
adding on an extra.
That
Oh,
is-
yes,
yeah,
gotcha.
the
I got
285, that
399.
includes call
Yeah.
force and
I
additional
got
overtime. You
388.
wouldn't
And
do
we
it-
don't need
You wouldn't
to
do the
add-
benefits on that,
No.
only new
Hey, you're
personnel.
right, Amy, sorry.
That's why so I had estimated 260,000 for those employees, 60, okay, so
Yeah.
that's 104.
For their straight
is the
time?
benefits. Yeah, just the straight time. I didn't,
200, so they're $130,000 an employee?
no, it's 3. Because the deputy too.
The deputy's in there already.
Yeah.
All right, then maybe I messed up a number then, but
I think you can subtract 104,239 from that number, Mike.
from which, well,
From the
They
number
weren't
that-
in
the
for
number that you
26, Mike, but they
calculated.
are in there for 27, the deputy chief. It's the 104,239.
right, I have that all broken down and it comes out to the 643, 321, which is correct for the salaries, and then the deputy chief is broken down below
Oh.
at the 104.
I should look at this other sheet that you, because I keep looking at this.
So what's the base,
I think Amy's right.
two.
I
what's the
think
base salary, Mike,
you
of the
subtract
I just,
actual
I
firefighters?
averaged it at 60.
27 current level
Averaged it at
salaries
60.
from his request.
So that'd be
you get
120 plus
134,203.
Evans' old position,
So if we
right?
figure out
But she's saying
40%
that
of
it's in it, so
Yes.
That's the benefit.
That's two additional.
I apologize, Amy.
No, it's fine.
120.
What I gave you for that was if we went to 3 per shift.
So it's 186.
That's what that high number was. So
Okay.
it's 120 plus 48,000 in benefits
Okay.
for the 2. Because it's only 2 per shift.
Okay.
It's
Plus-
only 2 that we would be asking for.
120 and 40. Yeah.
So those numbers are still correct, but the actual ask for the benefits would be
More
the
people in there.
48,000.
So
Yeah.
168,
168, yes.
okay. Plus the new deputy.
I
But
apologize.
that's already
I
in the
read
budget.
more- Yes, correct. I was looking at I was getting you the number ahead of time for if we did 3 per shift, so you could see what that cost would be for adding the 3.
So is the 334,089 way too high?
What do you mean 330? Where's the 334?
For your
Total.
Yeah.
No.
Total request.
No,
to
that's,
have 8
it's 285, 130.
firefighters and a deputy.
No,
So that's accurate.
that's accurate, yeah.
Okay. So the only miscalculation, we just
It was
need to
just the
figure out
benefit. It
how
was the
much
benefit.
to add to that for benefits.
Yeah.
I got 187,884, and I think Amy got the same number because we're just trying to figure out the benefits for 2 more people.
2 firefighters. I averaged it at 60,000 per.
60,000.
So the only question is was the deputy chief's benefits added anywhere? Because we added his salary, I don't know if we've added the benefits.
I don't know if that must have been existing in there, correct?
Well, it came out for
The
26,
budget
but-
it was in the budget.
It was in the budget, yeah, he was budgeted,
We
so
just
it
froze the
wasn't,
position and then
correct.
unfroze it.
correct,
So it should have been there.
yeah.
So we just need to add 187,884 is the number I came up with.
And his benefits would have been higher too, because he was
168.
getting paid higher. So,
All
The
other
chief's at
benefits are the same, no matter
60,000.
what your salary is, so.
but
Plus
don't, if you're doing it by
There's other
40%.
things, yeah, there's others, but
Not
to a
438.
point.
It's 48,000,
So I got-
168.
I got 521, 972.
Insurance.
According to what Mike told me.
What did I,
60,000 apiece, right? That's 120 plus 40% is 48, and you get 168.
yes.
Okay.
Does it sound
But
right?
I just did an average of the 60,000. One position might be 57, one might be.
Oh, I
Right,
see.
right.
I see.
So,
Okay.
if you want
Just
an
to
exact
round up.
number, I can
No.
get you.
No,
Yeah.
I can
the
get
average
that
is
to you.
good.
Okay. So you're talking about 500, let's go with 500,000 in that range added to the entirety of the town budget. So it includes Mike's request plus the benefit side of things to get to his FY '27 requested staff level.
What's that number?
500.
I would say 500 because I'm at 521 because I was doing what Amy was doing, which is the exact difference in the salaries, but Mike reminded me that we don't know where we're gonna hire these people at, so it could be lower, it could be higher, so, and Peter, Paul came up with a number that was gonna bring us in probably somewhere in 510. So if we say 5, I mean, we'll shore the numbers up and sharpen things if we're gonna be going for an override for something like this. We'll figure it out exactly. But, you know, we'll get as close as we can.
Of course.
So I'm gonna say,
And that's 2 employees and a deputy. That's 2 more and a deputy. Or no, the deputies, you're just lifting up you're removing lifting the hiring freeze.
yes.
And then adding 2. Okay.
Right.
Got
So
it.
this,
Thank you.
So to clarify, what that number will give him is 8 full-time firefighters, plus a deputy chief,
Plus a chief.
plus keeping his admin, and it includes the benefits.
And
Is that accurate?
And it includes
But the benefits
the
are in another
extra
budget.
overtime, and it
Yeah, I'm just-
includes,
Yeah, call
The
force.
call force.
Call force.
Yes,
so there's a lot in
there's a
there.
lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the increase, because the benefits are in different budgets, it'd still be that total, but
Mhm.
as far as the actual fire department budget, it'd be less.
It would be about $160,000 less
Yep.
based on your calculations.
So it'd be the
So, but I mean, I'm just,
334.
yeah. So fire department budget, it would be
Okay, we're back. We're
330,
back to
yeah.
here
So you
then.
have that number right there, 334,089 is just the fire department budget. The additional on top of that would be what we would need to the benefit side of
If
things.
they took them.
If they, right, exactly.
Thank you.
That helps.
Is there any feedback on what you, like, is there any feedback that I can pass back to our members on how you're feeling, what your gut's feeling on this right now? Are you feeling that this is a reasonable ask? Is this a,
I think we need it. I think we need our 8 guys.
so one question that did come up, and again, we all know that an override the next year, it goes to the full budget. So that's gonna be the question people are gonna be asking me. If there's a shortage next year, so we hire these folks, and we're still having an issue, these people come on board, I can't give them a guarantee that you're gonna have a job next year. So we're
And
gonna
that would
have,
only kick in if there's a targeted override, like a menu type override. If
Gotcha.
it was a general override this year, then it'd be up to
We have
you folks to.
select board.
Yeah. Oh, trying to get out of this.
Sorry, that
what-
came out wrong.
I mean-
You're good as a number, sorry.
So it's a realistic concern. I think with the talk of the menu override, there bears some explanation for what happens in year 2. Because I'm not sure everybody has the same picture in their mind. So on a menu override, if you were to say, I've watched the school committee, or I've watched the schools, that was the one finance committee meeting I had to miss, but I've watched theirs, and I was at all of the rest of them, and obviously here tonight. So, if you were to say, menu override, education, the school wants $700,000. Public safety needs $600,000. Town government offices need $150,000. Yes, no on these items. In the year that the override passes, it is targeted, as Paul was saying, meaning these, after you go to town meeting and they allocate the funds, it goes to these departments. In year 2, your levy is increased, that additional funding is now there. You've added 2.5% because this town still has the 2.5%, what's the word I'm looking for?
Levy.
Increase.
Increase.
Good enough.
Prop
Yeah,
2.5.
Prop 2.5, sorry.
Yeah.
Wow. So 2.5% goes on top of that. And now the budget is handled as every other year. So every department head comes in, advocates for their needs. The select board puts out a set of rules. We want you to level service your budgets. Not level fund your budgets, but level service your budgets. And then everybody comes in and advocates on their own behalf. Nothing changes. The year that it changes is where the money gets allocated initially. So I have a really hard time, I understand where he's coming from. I have a hard time believing that the town would aggressively increase their tax rate, restore a department, and then the next year cut it. Do you know what I mean? So the same, like the same two boards would be here having these discussions. And so you'll have more money to use, and the departments that you wanted to restore initially will have been restored. I don't know that anybody can give a guarantee, right? Like, but these are people who have had their department axed, so I get their concern. But I think there's a misconception as to what happens year 2, in that the town could then say, oh, well, we want to take all the money we gave the fire department and add it to the school because we need that. Yeah, you could do that, right? You make those decisions, right? The select board could do that. I just don't see something like that happening, and I think people just need to understand that coming back in year 2 is a regular budget year. You come in and you do your same presentations, and this is what we think it's going to cost. This is how much we need. Well, we can't give you that much. This is what we have to work with. But the positive thing is, if any one of those menus gets an override, they benefit year 1, but everybody benefits year 2, because you all now have more money to spread around in year 2. Now the struggle with that is, what does year 1 look like? What happens if the school is the only one that gets the override? What happens to the fire department? We just went over what it's going to look like. If none of the other departments get funded, all of the cuts that we've discussed will happen June 30th. The money is gone. So I think that's where the by-board meetings are going to come in handy, where you all kind of get to talking and decide what you want to see. What do you want to see? If you even support an override. If you do, how do you want to break it up? What do you think will be the best way to support the town? But again, I don't think you have to worry about year 2. Year 2, you're in good shape. I really believe that. Year 1 is what makes me nervous, because you have to make it palatable. Harry and I have talked, right? The last override was too much. General override budget, 2.5, I don't even know what it was. It was way too much. $2.3 million, whatever it was. It's a no.
Everybody I heard was talking about 18%.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they were just freaked out by
Absolutely.
that. And I think the majority of people would have gone for a lesser override.
Right.
So the question is, like a big rebellion.
So I think the question amongst the two boards and committees is going to be, do you reduce it to a more palatable number and still ask for a general override so that you can spread it around to whomever you want at town meeting, or do you do a straight menu? That's going to be probably your decision.
Prior to last year with all the cuts, Mike, what were your receipts? Were you able to fulfill as being the chief to doing all those inspections to creating revenue for the town? From inspections, fire alarms, permits, alcohol permits, what were your permits where you could actually do your job as being a chief? Do you have an idea?
I think we had projected about $5,000 lower, but we hadn't brought in all the annual receipts for the liquor licenses. So I think we're at about 45,000, I think, wasn't it?
35,000 for 25.
When it comes to those inspections, is it a base price throughout the state? Or does the town?
There's certain ones that are based upon state law. So $50 is the majority of them for oil burners and propane tanks and, you know, all that kind of stuff. For new construction, so for example, the Subaru, that's based upon a square footage fee. It's 4 or 5 cents a square foot, depending on how many square feet. We haven't had a lot of those new businesses coming in that triggers that. That was one of them. But you are going to have a 3 or 4 story senior housing unit coming up at some point. That's in aggregate, so that's per floor. Again, yes, we are still in the process of completing our annual liquor license inspections because we just don't have the bench strength to get out there every day.
Understand.
So one of the things I thought was very interesting from Ben when he was here, he has a company that helps him, he outsources it, and they do it for free, which was, he says it doesn't cost him, and it doesn't.
I don't remember him saying it.
You didn't remember him saying that?
No.
His inspections are paid by the state.
By the state. Any of that?
Which ones were those?
I don't know. I'll have to ask him.
That's the Board of Health, yeah, all his inspections are done free.
I wonder if do they collect like a portion of what the business pays to the state, maybe?
I don't know, but maybe I'm thinking is any type of liquor, like anything like that could go for fire. I don't know. I just was surprised that there's the state has that opportunity to do that for Board of Health. So I thought, well.
Yeah, for us, you have to be certified within the department. There's a delegation of authority from the fire chief to somebody who's doing those inspections. And it's required that you do a minimum of basic fire prevention. And then there's a FPO 1, so there's all certification courses in order to do those inspections. Like I said, I spent 8 years working with Evan, getting him up to speed, because our commercial properties are insane what we have to go through. And we have some of the funnest parts of UMass. We have a central heating plant that has 500,000 gallons of oil stored under a roof. So it has significant, there's really insane fire protection equipment that we have to do plan reviews on, and we have to make sure that it's correct. Home goods, we're just finishing up that right now, and there was a whole inspection and plan review done for that. We just finalized they'll be opening up April 2nd, so you can go out there and but yeah, that's the kind of stuff that we're trying to deal with every day, and it's a challenge because we have so many of them. The home inspections, new houses, the ADUs, photovoltaic plan reviews. I have probably 10 solar plan reviews that I'm required to do because there's requirements on how you put them on your roof. Battery storage, that's another huge one right now. People want to put these battery storages in their basement, and it's a hazard. So we have to make sure that they're complying with the code, and it's a rated room, and there's a smoke detector.
You get the building inspector involved because now you got venting of those fumes from the batteries.
Yep. Correct.
When it comes to both your departments, when you have new candidates or people coming in, do you have them sign a contract saying, we are going to train you, you have to stay with us for a few years, that within the union, or is it cutthroat and go, hey, thanks for training us, we're going someplace for an extra $1 an hour?
No, we do. Our union contract does.
We do as well, but
there's certain circumstances to like what's happening, on
we
your
laid them
side.
off, so we didn't have the
you don't have any. You didn't have any strength on that.
Yeah.
But I was wondering when it comes to.
We do as well, but we also we are also aware of some case law that is out there that other departments have done the same thing, and the officers have filed suit and won. So we don't know how that would go. We've never had to deal with it. We've actually been able to retain people.
Not very good officers to be doing that.
Past that cutoff point. But again, that was also after we increased our salaries and made it a great place to work. So we haven't had to deal with it in quite a while.
Good.
But we do have it. Same as
ours.
I think we actually matched the contracts.
Ours are specifically, so for if they have to go to the academy or if they go through paramedic program, they have to dedicate a certain number of years or they pay back a proportion of
Good.
it based
They-
upon.
they should. Good.
So, yes. Yep.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We still have one more up.
Yes, you do. I'll try to be as quick as we can.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
I think Jennifer's got me lined up with a few things
Oh.
she wants to work on this time.
I swear, if it rains tomorrow, I can't go to baseball.
Right.
You need the break?
Don't they go inside into the gym, Mike?
Alright, how is Alright, committee, where do we want to begin? Do we want to discuss the budget?
You start.
It's your call, Alex.
call.
Alright.
It's
all
on
you.
budget.
What
Okay,
page
so-
are we on, just so we can have it open?
It's towards the end, almost the very last page.
53.
Alright, so,
It is the very last page.
sure. So the budget's pretty much no crazy changes. I do need to make some adjustments or amendments to this year if we can here. I'll be going on paternity leave in September. Be out for at least a good month, probably 3 to 4 weeks. September is where everything starts to get busy for us as well, so it's a pretty weird time. The contractor budget line is new. We're gonna need to up that to at least $5,000 to cover some of the events that we're gonna miss. And then we're gonna need to increase our software budget to about 3,000 or so to get wireless internet hotspots out to the fields, so we can just give someone a hotspot and they can cover what they need to cover out in the field. Those are the only two amendments I need to make.
You need $3,000 per hotspot.
Well, no. That's for the whole software budget. It's
Oh,
only not $3,000 for
So
a
700 increase.
yeah.
3,500 on the contracts.
3,500.
So did they only have questions about that so far? Or would we like to continue on with the stuff I just passed out?
Yeah.
All right, so we saw some pretty significant increases the last year and actually this year as well. We made it to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is very amazing. It was pretty amazing. We saw a 44 increase in our watch hours, which I consider like our engagement. And then we're seeing a 64.7% increase so far in our watch hours, and we're just ending the first quarter. That's pretty significant. And then on the charter side of things, it's where it's a little depressing. We lost 8.8% of our subscribers, and I'm predicting the 8% loss for this year. Or by the end of this year. And this is the reason why I want to be the last one, was because we just got our numbers. And then we have a 10% loss in revenue from Charter Spectrum, which is our sole funding mechanism. We don't get tax funding to fund our budget. It's solely through cable revenue. And then if you go to the second page, you'll see that in last year, just about last year, your YouTube subscribers finally surpassed our cable subscribers. So you continue seeing the red line going up and the blue line going down. And for those folks who are at home and can't see this, they are more than welcome to reach out to my office at any point to get this information. And then I got 2 top 5s in here. Obviously, meetings and sports kind of takes over everything. I wanted to show what else we do besides meetings and sports. So for our top 5 non-government, we have a lot of school stuff in here. So obviously, our commencement is the most watched last year. Our concerts were the most watched last year as well, following the Memorial Day Parade and the asparagus talk where the 3rd graders pitched an idea to Senator Comerford and Rep. Gomez on why asparagus should be the state vegetable. And then our top non-government, non-schools, Memorial Day, been summer reading kickoff, the Polish immigration talk, which is a very interesting talk. If you have not watched it, you should watch it. Our 4th place was Town Place Suites ribbon cutting, or the little open house that they had. And then our top 5, our 5th one was for John Robitaille's last call. And like I said, we're seeing a 64.7 increase in our YouTube engagement this year so far.
And I believe if you put their video on that they made,
Oh, yeah.
you guys made, you'll get quite a few hits on that too.
I'm sure we will.
It'll be like watching Cops.
We had some music.
If you didn't have music.
I got a question for you. Yeah. How long have you been with Hadley Media for in town?
I've been here for 4 years. In my previous job, I was there for 5 years, 3 years in leadership.
Okay, so when it comes to the first year of doing this, because I looked online as to what you do, and I know you've expanded as to viewing, it's almost like 20 things that you've gone to, from Select Board, Finance, Zoom, Climate, Board of Health, Smart Growth, DEI, Zoning, Assessors, all those things, which I know is more time, which I know has increased your viewing time and your hours. What I do like about the Hadley Media is that when it comes to watching a Hadley basketball game, you just look it up, Hadley Media, and you can see it.
Yeah.
My kid was at Smith School, could never find any of the games, which was discouraging when I couldn't go because I was probably here. So, other things, you have Huddle, which is a subscription, but it's free. And there's a thing that's called NFHS, where you had to get a subscription to watching the basketball games. Now, is there a possible way, because I know we're getting revenues through Charter, to having a subscription to anybody that wants to watch YouTube of these 20 things that we have that you are offering for the town? So if there's a current of 1,100, 100 people, 11 people, at $5 for a subscription per month per person. That right there is $5,500 per month times 12. That's $60,000 to helping, if it's possible, to try to help funding your budget that you have, because your enterprise fund is going away. You're actually proving that your numbers are increasing by YouTube. Why not using YouTube as a subscriber for if you want to watch the band? People aren't going to basketball games because it's free, so the school is losing $5 for an admission to get in. Everybody's watching Select Board, Finance, Zoom. They're watching Climate Change. All these boards, if they are that interested into doing it in what you're providing, why not having the town, for the services that you're offering, to paying for what you're giving the town? Is that a possibility? Because if other towns are doing it, why can't you?
So, there's no one in the area that charges to use public access or community media services at all. NHFS and Huddle are private for-profit companies.
Okay,
We're not.
okay.
If anything, it'd be a barrier if we were to start charging people to use our service. It really would. We provide information, critical information, like this finance committee meeting, that people need. Because what is happening here at this table is going to impact your wallet, our way of life, internally and externally. I mean, I think it's crucial that we keep the service free of charge, whether or not we need to use tax money to do that in the future, which we probably are going to have to. I don't think even $5 is it's.
Nick, can you tell me how many people are watching this meeting right now?
There are 1680 total views. 16 currently right now.
16 right now are watching, which I know you're offering a free service for 16 people. If there was 500 or 1,000 that they're concerned about the override and the money being spent in this town, I would say, yes, we need to give out the information. But you look at some of the select board meetings, all right, there might be 50 people. Finance committee, those numbers are low. That if they were really concerned of giving a service to everybody in town, I think if you tried it, if it fails, okay, but if you don't try it, you're going to be asking for more money and you're not going to have this enterprise fund, and then there won't be any Hadley Media at all in 2 years. So if there is a way of trying to do this, and or when it comes to sporting events, basketball, is there a way of, you see 30-second cuts of advertising for a lawn service, an air conditioning company, a furniture place, Nissan dealership, to try to help sponsoring your salaries or your enterprise fund? Have you thought of doing that?
I have thought of doing it. I'm trying to think about how to execute it, and I'm also thinking of the right time to start doing it.
Now. As soon as you can. Because you brought this up last year that we're only losing money. If you need help or assistance of thinking of that, but I think you could make a lot of money, not you, to help fund your department by $3. Something to help pay for your services that you're doing, because it's not just you, it's also Nick, and you're talking more people. Okay, when it comes to select town meetings, that might be a tough one, and say, okay, you're avoiding that, you're just clicking a button saying that's free because it's a town meeting that everybody should be information about. If they want to go, they should go. If they can't, they're just watching it and they're not too concerned about how their vote is on how something goes to the town. But I think there's a lot of potential for your enterprise to making money constantly. It's just, it might be asking the right questions. I know of somebody, my wife talked to somebody and saying they have with their YouTube, they're paying a fee. So if somebody else can do it, why can't we? Just because no one else is, doesn't mean you can't start.
So was this YouTube channel a regular channel, or is it something like someone like
That's something I can help to find out about that, because I think it's for that town services, kind of like a Hadley Media, but it's of a different town. Mm-hmm. That if something like that, if it can create a revenue for you, pay and help you for the salaries, the equipment, time, money, because you're going and doing a lot of things for the town, which is great, but you should be getting paid for it, or at least having it pay for you and next time and the equipment that you have. If there's a way, let's try it, or try something.
I'm sorry, I can't agree with that. It's like charging to go to a park. You know, it should be open and free. It really should.
This is a public meeting.
Okay, it's a public meeting, but then after then, what's going to happen in 2 years? There won't be any Hadley Media, and what did it get us?
Well,
Not having anything.
Well, I think there's a whole nother story. I mean,
Yeah, that's
this-
like a whole
this
discussion.
But this is what this budget is all about. That you're losing your enterprise fund. That things are going to get worse.
Another thing too, if we were to go, say we wanted to really let's just say we want to charge people to use the service. We'd have to go through a third party. We have to pay the third party to get money. I don't think we'd have the revenue coming in to even pay for that third party service, and we'd actually be losing money on that.
If you got, if you got like 15 people watching it right now, how many people can watch it if you make them pay a few bucks? Obviously less.
But it's for every Hadley service, from all the things that you're saying, from the concerts, the winter concerts. I mean, for a month, you want to talk about money, that's one coffee a month to watching something that's really beneficial to the town and to an apartment that won't go under. I think that's an investment.
I'm sorry, I don't agree with charging people.
I'm just saying that's an
their
option
service.
to what my thought to helping.
I mean,
what's going on.
it's Mike and Mike charging people to go to their house for a call. I mean, I don't agree with it. I'm sorry, I really don't.
So
That's
Alex,
a safety where this
you
is
know,
informational.
How about the fees that are currently being paid? Just to clear it up in my head, do the charter subscribers pay the fee if they're only on charter television, or
Just charter television.
so if they're just on charter internet, they're not paying any
Correct.
fee at all? Is there some way that we could have all people that are subscribing to charter pay a fee?
You'd have to change. You'd really, literally have to change the Cable Act of 1984.
Okay, so it's not a local
We could do
agreement.
that, no problem.
That's we're under a federal law. Our funding mechanism is under the Cable Act of 1984.
Everybody's streaming now, that's.
And there are. I'm glad you bring that up. There is a bill right now that would in the Mass Legislature that would update how we get our revenue.
Yeah, because it would make more sense if anybody's on charter, any type of it, they should be paying the access fee because they're going through the internet now and they're getting the same content.
I 100% agree with you. I don't think it's gonna happen at the federal level, and it's taken a little bit on the state level. We've gotten better. We've gotten further down the state level. We're finally stuck in Ways and Means right now with this bill. But there's no way it's gonna happen at the federal level.
Gage has a question.
Yeah, just like in relation to when we were talking about like the library too, and like I completely agree with you that these like public meetings should be free, and like public access to like buildings should inherently be free as it's paid through taxes. Similarly with the library, my point is, have you done any like fundraising or donation efforts? You're saying it is important that this information gets out to these people who like want to, hear it and stuff. Have you done any like initiatives to like raise money in that sense, like PBS, you know what I mean? Or like partner with, different other media groups, like Pete was saying, just on these specific events to get like donations, like you're saying.
Can I step in
Go
on your
for
behalf
it.
here?
Yeah, go for it.
We've sat across the desk several times and talked about all this. He's a single employee running one of the tiniest budgets in town.
With Nick.
It's not a $93,000 budget. And he's always asked, how can you raise money? His job description is not raising money. He does not have staff to raise money. PBS does, GBY, they've got people who are paid to do this. If he takes time away from running Hadley Media to figure out how to bring in some money and fund his own department. No other department head in town is asked to pay for their own budget, and it's only $95,000. I honestly think in the long run, the only thing that's going to stick is just get this into the budget, or we stop charging them the chargebacks from enterprise funds that we get back in, and that we're making a really big deal and putting it all on this one person who has one part-time assistant.
And I think the feds need to keep up with the changing times, that act that you're
That's
talking
true,
about.
and that's a
because a
political
lot of
thing.
people are getting a free ride.
Yeah, and that's a political thing,
And
and
nothing
we
gets
handle that another level.
And nothing gets done in Congress, let's be real. It doesn't matter what political spectrum you're on, nothing gets done in Congress, ever.
Contact our reps and senators.
Gage, you have some more?
Yeah, just one, well, that was my point about
Yeah.
that meeting, that, you know, with the select board, Linda, is specifically regarding, you know, acts, like when Molly was questioning why I was, you know, going into something like this. It's, like you said, a department like this needs specific help in areas like that. And I know from my personal experience at UMass has a pretty substantial, like, media program that they have going on, and you know, these kids are looking for these experiences. And so when we're talking about, you know, division of labor and all that, I completely understand it shouldn't fall on one person and the scope of the job. That's like the point I was trying to get at with, you know, expanding these relationships, which I think, you know, is a big thing we should keep pushing for.
Well, I think that would be a wonderful master's thesis for someone to figure out how to
Well, I think
handle
that-
media.
I think some of this is a good point in cases, and I definitely don't think that's something Alex can put more on his plate. Like Violet or Jane, they don't have all that on their plate at the senior center. They have all these friends. And the library has a lot of friends. Well, I think Hadley
Alex
needs
needs
some
friends.
friends.
Start making friends, Alex.
I mean, I can't initiate a friends organization. That's a conflict of interest. Someone, like, at least 3 people would have to get together and start their own nonprofit. Who's gonna do it?
Well, I think there are some things, and this is a bigger conversation down the road, and we've talked about so many different things for your department. And you're not the only one going through this, because all the towns that they're going through the same thing, right? Because everybody's losing the cable, and so every town that has the media access is having issues. So, I mean, the fiber is one way that you're looking at, maybe offset some costs. There's some things and some ideas getting thrown out there. I don't think that's something for tonight, because it's something we need to take care of down the road, because it's getting closer and closer to that time where he's running out of money. But as of for the FY27, it's not in that budget. We don't have to worry about that.
We might end up doing an override. He might be going on the
I'll be
menu
on
at
the
some
menu.
point. Maybe not this year, but maybe, you know, like.
Yeah.
Depends on them.
Commercial flips might be something that.
Yeah.
But I can't.
But I think we need to, one of the things the select board will have to do is start, or maybe not the select board, just a few people, start a committee or start something and start some friends, or we used to have some committees with Hadley Media.
The last thing we need is a committee.
Or, I'm saying some.
Last thing we need is a committee.
Good call.
We need some people that are willing, that are interested and willing to work on it, is what we need. And sometimes you know, they're there when you, look, we have help and it's not costing us anything. Right, Keith?
So you're volunteering your services.
He's been wonderful. He's gotten all this help.
Kate is going to be the founding member of the Hadley Media Friends.
All right.
Okay.
Did you have anything else that you wanted to point out in there?
That was pretty much it. I mean, the biggest thing right for me is to make sure we survive September.
Yeah.
So that I could be with my new family. And, yes.
At least for a few weeks.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah.
At least for a few weeks.
Might be a good way to see what we're going to lose if Hadley Media does disappear. I think this is, no, I hate to say it, but
Interesting.
you know, it's going to be a struggle.
I think Jennifer
Thinking about water.
literally told me one day that she is gonna freak out when I go away for a month. It's
pretty accurate.
Yeah, and Nick, I'm not sure when Jeremy's gonna not run for Congress, because he's working full time at NHS right now, teaching this generation of communication and film people.
I mean, I don't know what Hopkins' situation is, but yeah, hire me as a teacher. I'll build you guys a team of little Hadley Media interns. I've got like 15 to 20 kids like over at Northampton. They just will. 6 of them could show up right now if I texted them.
Yeah, I got.
So,
I've had
hire me at Hopkins. I'll build that for you.
We've had the pleasure.
Free help is great.
We've had the pleasure of 2 to 3 people help us out with town meeting and other events that we needed to do, and they've been excellent. So I mean, I mean, there's plenty of opportunity. I know that when I originally the contractor list was going to be 1,500. I think that's a good stepping stone to get us to casual employees and possibly restructuring how we actually do staffing here. Also, that's another discussion for another time. But I mean, we do need to help, especially with the 64.7% increase this year already.
Agree.
Bring your friends and probably lots of Red Bull, right? That's what they drink.
You gotta work for them.
Yep.
I have two questions. On the idea of volunteers, I kind of thought if a volunteer comes in and does work, the union is going to complain that work is being taken away from them. Is that not an issue?
If it is union work, if it's a job that a union member was previously doing, you cannot do that. If it's non-union work, meaning if it was part of Alex's job, that's slightly different. But firefight, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what union it is. But yeah, you cannot bring in. It's the same with what we were talking about earlier with the call force versus full-time firefighters. We were talking about how you need to be it needs to be properly funded, but he can't put a call force person in the place of a union firefighter first. It's got to be after.
Has to go through his care. But volunteers, so for example, he's talking about students coming in as volunteers. I have two volunteer students from Hopkins that are coming in every day as apprentices for the fire department. So they're going through CPR, first aid. You know, they'll be moving on to college, but while they're here and when they turn 18, they're actually becoming call force members until they go off to college. And usually when they come back for their vacation, they'll respond to calls for us again. So that's been very successful. So when he said that, and it builds out your for your high school. I know Annie and I have had multiple conversations. We just haven't had the time to get it into full fruition. But I was in the schools every day teaching students fire and life safety, and myself and the deputy, and we brought forward like at least two folks. My son, he was the original one who put together the junior firefighter program when he was at Hopkins. So he researched the national standard and everything. So I think it's huge, and it brings a whole nother level to your high school. People want these alternative tracks that they can go down, and it leads to a nursing track or, you know, something else. So I think that's amazing what he's doing in Northampton, and I think we should look at it for here. And I would definitely be a friend because your services are invaluable. Seriously.
I had a question for the fire department. You said it's now standard procedure to always ask for mutual aid. Did I hear that right? So I remember that meeting where you had all the fire departments from all around. One of the people stood up and said, it's not really mutual because you're understaffed, so you never can respond to us. So how is that going to work? That we're always asking for help from them and we never can give to them.
Well, you saw what happened. It was in the news with Hatfield. So it got to the point where mutual aid wasn't mutual, so there was a bill coming. So if we have to respond to all these calls and it's not mutual anymore, and it's an impact on our staffing, and that community has to call in for overtime to cover the folks that are coming to our community, then
So
there's a potential.
Hatfield sent us a bill?
No. It happened in Hatfield where their ambulance calls were getting too excessive, that they were requesting mutual aid. So the ambulance that was responding said, sorry, but this isn't a mutual aid call anymore. It's us covering your community. So I'm hoping we don't get to that point, but like I said, it happened today. We couldn't send an engine to Northampton the first time. And so the chief called me and he's asking, you know, I may have to move you off my run card because I need your ladder truck here. So again, we're right over the bridge. So imagine if he has to find another ladder from Holyoke or from Belchertown or somewhere. You know, it's challenging.
I can tell you that when we initially started talking about reductions to the fire department, when the override discussions were beginning, like a year ago or however long it was, as the interim TA, I was getting calls from the TAs or mayors in the surrounding communities asking me what was going on because they were preparing for this non-mutual mutual aid. They needed to know how much more they were likely to be responding to this community to help us out. So that was one of the first things they were asking.
Thank you.
If I could close, if no one has any other questions.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm speaking for Nick as well. We both love our jobs. We both love this community. I think we both want to continue serving this community to the best we can. We need your help to make that happen. So I urge you to, please consider keeping us around, keeping our services free for many, many years to come. And that's all I got.
Good job, Alan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time.
All right, do I have a motion?
I have make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Pam, second by Gary, all in favor?